Hey, how is it going? It is Sunday. I need to check the date here, actually. May 21st. So, of course, timestamps should be below in the description. And other than that, we'll just give a second for everyone to show up here. Hey, Jessica, how's it going? How's everybody doing? Showing up here. Okay. Gotta switch this around. Nope. Let me figure this out. There we go. Cool. It might have gone. I'm not sure if we're back yet. There we go. Okay, we should be good now. Probably paused there for a second. Sorry, guys. Oh, man. What's up? How's it going? Hello again. Hello again. Hey. Ashley Herbert. Hello. Dee. Hello. Stacy. Hi. Things are good. Good to hear it. Hey. What's going on, Leo? Good to see ya. Oop. Good afternoon, Debbie. Good afternoon. What you drinking? Oh yeah, I have a smoothie here. And then I have coffee and water. I'm running, I don't know if I'm actually running behind schedule today, but I woke up a little later than I normally do. I had a class yesterday and I'm still feeling it. I don't know if I'd say I'm feeling a little bit fried, but it was pretty potent. So I don't know if I'm still recovering, but I'm doing what I'm doing. So I am not sure what's in the smoothie. I actually didn't make it. I am just receiving and drinking it. Tour season has you out. I hear that. I'm Amy from class and same. Yeah. Hey, Amy. But yeah. Yeah. How's it get any better than that? I know a lot of people have had to take it easier today than intended, myself included. Okay. I'm not alone then, because I didn't actually, because normally I'll take time. Not that I didn't take time to try and do this ahead of time, but I'll channel messages ahead of time for all the readings. And it just I just didn't get to that. Like I'd kind of start to do it and they'd be like, nope. Or it just like didn't quite flow out. So I'm not sure if we'll end up doing something a little bit different today or if it'll just be a hangout or what. Because we might get to a point where I'm feeling it. I'm like, okay. My intention was just to maybe just flow with the messages they wanted to bring through and just not have the messages ahead of time like I normally do. So I'm working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. on a 10-day stretch. My days are a blur. Oh, dang. That's hardcore. That is not a joke, Laney. I can imagine that the days are a blur. Because I used to work nights back in the day as well, but it wasn't typically 10 days in a row. It was not that. So that's hardcore. I guess we're meant to rest. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. Okay, I guess we're doing readings today though, because they are urging me to start the collective reading. So normally I have channel messages ahead of time. I don't have channel messages ahead of time today. So I'm just going to see what they bring through while we're here live. I'm not sure if they'll keep it a bit shorter than normal. They probably won't, but let's dive in, I guess. We are breaking with habit today. And sort of. So I'm just going to sit with this for a second and see like what they'd fully for the highest good, what would be highest and best to come through. And for anyone new here, I channel my spirit guides, the angels and source, which is a bit of a simplification actually. But it's just easier to say that, I suppose. And it's, I guess you could say they're channeled and intuitive readings. I just channel through the messages that are, for your highest good and that I'm getting for you who are showing up here for the reading. So that or better, I guess, because I don't know if I'm saying it quite right, but that's close. So let's see what would be highest for us to come through for you guys today. Collective reading is meant to be just for like everybody here or everyone who shows up and gets to it. So, or something like that. So give me 1 second here. First thing they're starting with, interestingly enough, is a grasshopper, which I know has been very common with the lives as a symbol and a message here, but the messages have all, well, tended to be pretty different between the different grasshoppers that have shown up, I suppose. So let's see what's up with this grasshopper here. Okay, so what they're showing me with this grasshopper is like, he's not actually old, but he almost like looks kind of old. There's like a grandfather clock. He's like in this cabin or this like house type thing, and he's kind of sitting in this armchair. He's just like waiting, and this grandfather clock is like ticking away. But the message I'm getting with it is like he actually just needs to like go. Like he needs to like take action or do what he came here to do what he feels called to do. Let me stay with it for another second here, see what else is coming through here. So if you are not taking action, but there is something you need to do or would really like to do, I feel like it's especially strong with something you'd really like to do, like a business, a plan, making a move. Even if it's like, depending on your circumstances, like, this doesn't feel as strong as a message with I was going to say something like asking someone on a date or shooting your shot or something, but that's not as strong of a message now that I'm sitting with it. But it's like time is something I'm getting, even if it's not the thing. And what do I mean by that? Like, sometimes we think like, oh, our next idea is like the thing. It's like either the thing that'll be super successful or the thing that carries us all the way through the rest of our life or something like that. Even if it's not like the thing, it's still important that you're taking action and getting the experience and growth you're going to get from that thing, so that when you do get to the thing, you're rocking it, you're prepared, you're ready for success, what have you. Like, you're getting the lessons along the way for the thing. And for some of you, it could very well be the thing, but we don't need to judge it as that or anything right now. This is very simple, but for now I'd be taking action on your dreams or desires, because otherwise they're showing this grasshopper sitting in this chair. It like turns into a skeleton sitting in the chair. It's just, nothing changed. He just kind of withered away in the chair, waiting to take action when the time was now. So that's some encouragement, I suppose, to pursue what you need to pursue right now. Next thing, they're moving on to a shellfish. They're showing me the word shellfish. They're showing me this like clam something. It actually looks like the clams from SpongeBob, but that's probably not important. Sometimes they're funny, but let's see what they're getting to with shellfish here. So this is kind of seems along the same vein. It could be a different message the way it plays out, but it's like time to come out of your shell in some way. There could be different messages for different ones of you here, though, so bear with me for a second. Okay, kind of very similar to the last message. Some of you have been putting off something you really need to do, like something that's important to you. It doesn't have to be important to anyone else, but it could be, but it's important to you. And they're like, you stop doing that. So, like, it's time to come out of your shell and really try. For others of you tuning in here, I feel like the universe is forcing you to come out of your shell, because they're showing like the universe, like cracking this shellfish. And I know, like, if you were to take an actual shellfish and crack it, it would be very harmful to the shellfish. In this instance, it's not necessarily harmful to you. It's almost like you're trapped in the clam. Not a good place to be. I wouldn't know, but I'm guessing. That's kind of a joke, but what's the message here? What's the best way to summarize this here? The other part of this is like, some of you have like put yourself in a box and you don't need to be in this box. Or you put yourself in this space where you're not taking action, and it's I just feel like it's kind of hurting you, honestly. Maybe not literally, but in some way figuratively. So universe is busting you out of like a shell or your shell to, I guess, get you to your destiny. And I say I guess, but that's literally what they just said. So that's important right now if you feel like you're moving out of a shell or like a stagnant period or anything like that. So next thing we're moving to is a bridge. They're showing me a bridge here. And they're giving me an interesting message, and it could show up differently for each of you, of course, but it's this message of like you're meant to bridge worlds is the first thing I'm hearing with this. So let me see what's going on, because they're showing this it almost looked like this, how do I describe this visual? Like a continent almost, or like it actually looked more like a scene from a book I read like maybe not 10 years ago, but quite a while ago. And it was this scene where there were all these like almost like plateaus, I think, but there are also these like cracks in between the plateaus. So it was like this really dry thing. So you'd have these like little canyons, and you'd kind of have to like build bridges across these different like buttes or plateaus or things like that, but they were like close together, so they weren't like a standalone butte. Sorry if this is taking a lot of time from the reading, me describing this, but the message as far as this, because they said bridging worlds, but let me stay with it for a second here. So there's a few different things I'm getting, but give me one more second here. So it's kind of in tandem with some of the other messages that came through already, but it's a little bit different, because one thing they're showing me with this is someone who's like alone on like their own like continent or section of land here, but and they're kind of like isolated almost. And maybe you don't all feel isolated, but it's like time to start building those bridges out to like reaching out to people, connecting with people, like getting out there. Kind of a similar message with like the shellfish and all that here. It like start again. I'm sensing a theme here of like it's time to start doing the things you need to do to make certain things happen, or reaching out to people, or maybe even getting over yourself if that's something that you need to hear, some of you. But bridging out to other people that you need to reach out to make certain things happen, bridging out to different lands. I feel like there's more with this though, because as far as bridging worlds as well here. The other thing I'm kind of getting with this is it's almost like different things in your life. It's like the dots are starting to connect with how to bring things together, or like connect different projects that you're working on, which was like a brief flash of a message or something I was getting earlier as well, where it was like maybe you have like this standalone project, but it was like time to start bringing other things into it, or like connecting dots with it and working on either multiple things. Well, maybe not multiple things on once. I'm so sorry. Let me get like just a summarized quick message that'll like summarize it better for you guys here. If you're working on like one thing but neglecting other things, for those of you working on things, like it's kind of time to focus on like all of it, or start like bridging the gaps between those things, so you have like a more cohesive plan for getting things done, instead of just like working on one thing and everything else falls apart. Or it could even be like focusing on one relationship and other relationships fall apart, or things like that. Like it's time to bridge the worlds and like bring it all together, if that makes sense. And on top of like going out and like getting what you need to get, or reaching out to who you need to reach out to make things happen for some of you perhaps as well. So there's at least one more message here, so I'm going to see what else I'd like to bring through here. I feel like I've been getting this message for a lot of people and collectively a lot. And it's this message about things speeding up, and they're showing it to me again. And I want to see if they have a different spin on it this time for you guys or what, but they're showing me a snail. And I know there's that movie, I think it's like Turbo or something, or there's a character in it. I've never actually seen the whole movie, but it's like Turbo the snail. And he's this fast snail, essentially. And they showed this snail like speeding up and getting like really fast here. One message I'm hearing right now is like, you don't see a lot of the sudden changes coming that are coming in. Like you don't necessarily see how things are speeding up. The way they're showing it is very interesting. It's like someone in like a boat on a river, or someone in like some type of travel experience. And it's like they're not paying attention, and things are speeding up, and they don't realize it because they're not really paying attention. Maybe they're like playing Game Boy in the car or something. I don't know. But when the bends in the, when the turns or the bends in the river come up or in the road, and like the car like turns suddenly or things like that, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, or like all of a sudden they have to like make quick decisions about all these like things, or like things they asked for like came in really quickly. They have to like decisions like, oh, do I discard this thing to make room for this? Do I do XYZ? So there are like a lot of sudden changes coming for a lot of you, I suppose, or all of you, that you don't see coming because things are speeding up. But it's like you're not realizing quite how things are speeding up. And I don't know how to describe this. It's just like sometimes things speed up without you realizing it until you kind of hit certain milestones or benchmarks that like show you that things are speeding up. But you'll see that if that makes sense. Others of you, this is actually a really positive message. Like manifestations are coming in like faster than you realize. So I want to make sure I balance this message appropriately, but there was a quick just reminder to potentially like watch your thoughts, watch your words, kind of watch what you're putting out there to the universe. I never want this to be like a fear message or anything like that, but kind of just be aware. What's the best way to say this here? Sometimes as you get really potent with manifesting, depending on your framework where you're at, like you might notice that like your thoughts will kind of start to create things in your external reality pretty quickly, or your words. I tend to be pretty careful, and like even just like in conversation with people, because sometimes I'll notice I'll just like say something and then it'll just happen. I'll be like, oh, okay, if that makes sense. So it's not like you need to beat up on yourself and like punch yourself every time you have a bad thought or anything like that, because we have to balance this message. Sometimes you're like picking up on other people's thoughts depending on where you're at. Sometimes you're picking up on other things, sometimes you're just in tune. So there's a bit of awareness that can go into it where it's probably helpful if you're not freaking out about every single thought and like word and all that. And sometimes, as far as like me channeling, I'm guided to say words that I don't necessarily want to say, but that's the channeled message, that's from the divine. So, you don't have to, I don't know if I'm using this word right, like eschew all that, or divine guidance or intuition or anything like that, but maybe just be a little bit more mindful of like, what are you putting out there? Like, what are you saying to the universe or putting out there with like your thoughts or what you're saying in conversation, and things like that. Cause sometimes you just might be creating it. And, again, not meant to be a message of fear, meant to be more of a message of like awareness, and be like, okay, like, what is showing up with the words I'm putting out there? What is showing up with the thoughts I'm putting out there? And can we, either fine tune this so we're bringing in what's best, or set an intention that really helps to, have us manifest the best with what we're thinking, saying, doing, etc. And you guys get it. So most of you probably already knew that. Let's move on here. Next thing they're showing me a fire here. And the word they're giving me is passion as well. There's another phrase they're giving me, which is passionate circumstances. I guess the way I'm hearing it is like we have more passionate circumstances coming in. I guess that's all of us, because they're having me say we, which includes me. And sometimes okay, they don't want me to say that, but either more things that, we are passionate about, in the future here, or it's already here, or we're going to be realizing what we're passionate about, or maybe even who, like maybe it's a person that there's a lot of passion with as well. It's going to, again, show up differently for everyone tuning in here. But if you realize what your passions are, there's no reason not to incorporate more of that in your life, even if it's surprising. There's a story I have. One time I was like on a trip, and I was like, okay, I'm on this trip. And it was like with someone, I guess. And I was like, okay, like, and I think what's the best way to say this here? I was essentially like manifesting passion for this trip. I wasn't necessarily attached to it showing up a certain way or anything like that, but I found myself doing that. And what showed up, funny enough, it wasn't what I was expected necessarily. know if I had a super big expectation, but what showed up was I ended up like meeting this group of people, and we all ended up like jamming like music for like hours or an hour or however long. And it was so funny because I ended up playing, like, someone had a guitar, so I was playing guitar, and then, other people were playing different instruments. And I remember like I was just like getting super into it and like really enjoying it. I hadn't really played music with others in a while, and that was how passion manifested for me that time. Funny enough, which worked. I really enjoyed it. It was a good, also like reminder of like, sometimes the universe will just manifest what's for your highest good, not like what you necessarily like want sometimes, depending on like, yeah, I guess it could depend sometimes on how like divinely guided you are, or divinely orchestrated things are. You can't force things to happen if they're not meant to happen, and vice versa. You can't always force things to not happen if they're meant to happen. And it's just what I've experienced. So, but the passion did manifest. It just wasn't how I expected. So if you notice that happening, and you like, even if it's completely unexpected or you're not suspecting it, whether it's like a past thing you used to be into, or a hobby, or a dream, or maybe it does have to do with a person, like, just pay attention to that. And maybe if it makes sense to, for your circumstances, incorporate more of that and stay in that vibration more. And I feel like that'll bring more joy and potentially opportunity, and it'll just help you live a better life. So hopefully that all makes sense as well with that one. They don't want to do too much more for this reading. They're kind of telling me they want to close it soon. They're mentioning crystal healing for some reason right now. If you've been feeling drawn to work with crystals more, they're saying something like some of you, it would be good for you to work with crystals more for like your healing practice or just for yourself. So, if you're feeling drawn to certain crystals right now, don't neglect that, or don't forget that. Like, it can actually be important. It can actually be really helpful. I guess like a story I could talk about with that are, there have been times more in the past where I was drawn to certain crystals, and maybe at the time, like, it was kind of a time where, and I'm not recommending you do this unless you're, really feeling drawn to do this necessarily, like, use your awareness with this, but it was times where I didn't like have a ton of extra money to be like dropping $50, $100 on crystals or something like that. But there'd be times I'd be like guided to anyways. And it would all work out, as long as I was following my intuition with that. It always did. But what I'd noticed over like the months following me buying that crystal is like, energetically, I'd kind of get the knowing, or claircognizant knowing, that just energetic awareness of like, oh, this has actually really been supporting me and helping me having this crystal around. And like, I can definitely see, like, feel how it's made a difference. I don't know if I had all of the physical, like, stories and thoughts about, how it showed up, but energetically, I just knew it did. And the way it was, helping my energy field and supporting my life at the time, or whatever it was doing. So sometimes those things help us more than we realize, even if we don't have a physical, directly correlated story of like, oh yeah, I bought this crystal and then, my neck got better, or, whatever. And, still consult your doctor if you feel called to, or feel like you need to. But legal disclaimer, not that I needed to do that right now, but you know what I'm saying here. I guess I'm going to close it now. I know that might be a little bit different than it normally shows up for these lives, and maybe that was a little bit shorter, but that's kind of what I'm being guided to say for the collective reading. So hopefully that's still good, even though we're just flowing with the messages and just channeling those through. So hopefully that was helpful and did what, resonated, did whatever was for the highest good. I'm going to close the collective reading. There might be like one more message here, because they're showing me space and outer space here. One thing I am getting, like, as a last second message here is like, it might be good to like focus on expanding like space for yourself. There's a number of different ways this one could show up. It could just be like energetic, like crafting energetic space for yourself. The people I hear talking about like energetic space the most are typically people in like the access consciousness modality. However, this could go other ways as well. This message is what I'm getting. Like it could also just be like, sometimes you just need more space for yourself, and like the typical understanding of it, like you just need an hour for yourself, each week, or every day or something. Like gauge what you need. Again, it doesn't mean don't take action on things. It doesn't mean don't follow your dreams or what have you. Like the earlier messages, and you guys get it. They're saying you guys get it, so I won't bore you with all the extra explaining. But let's see here. But balance it and just make sure you have enough space for yourself. And I feel like that could even just be healing for you. So, okay, I'm going to close it there. I hope that was helpful and resonated. That's just some quick messages for you guys. I'm going to take a second to just drink some water and drink some smoothie and stuff. I feel like drinking a smoothie live is dangerous because so much smoothie just gets in like your mustache or your beard. Well, for me at least. I just don't want like smoothie dripping down my face for the next 4 hours. And I can kind of see it on the screen, but there's enough distance where it's like I might be like missing a spot that someone with their phone like closer to the face might see. So I just don't want people to be distracted while they're watching, Okay, I'm gonna need water. Oh my goodness. Get this man a boba straw. I love that. That sounds like it would have some utility right now. Oh man. A lot of y'all's comments, by the way, are gold. You guys crack me up. Whew. I'm going to keep going. I already said it earlier in the live, but I know we probably have new people here. I taught, I taught a class yesterday, an energy healing class, and I am like feeling it right now. Because I mean, one, the class was just in a good way. I don't know if I want to say I was off earth after that class, but I went to like the store afterwards just to get some like, I guess, personal story. I love like kombucha and like those kinds of drinks, not necessarily the alcoholic kinds. And but I went to the store and I was walking through the store like super like, oh my God, I'm like barely here. I was there. I feel like I was present, but I was so like conked out or something. And like with the classes, like you're channeling a lot of it. You're spending a lot of time just on you're facilitating energy work. It's a lot of potent energies. For this class, it was very, so I'm very like, right now. I'm doing my best, but bear with me. And I'm doing well, honestly. When I check in, I'm like, oh, how am I doing? It's like, I'm doing great. I think I'm going to need to rest after this. Okay, so I was going to... Nice to meet you, Brittany. Mimosa kombucha tincture. That sounds nice. Maybe slightly dangerous, but nice. I feel like I think I saw a post one time where there was like, they were talking about how like white people will call like certain like foods dangerous, and I feel like I just jumped into that stereotype for a brief second. So that joke might have fallen flat. I'm sorry. So If you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising, and I know I didn't really fall into the stereotype necessarily, but maybe I do sometimes. I don't know. Fire sign, sun, moon, or rising. This is for you when you see it, or it's meant to be. And no, it is. And so I'm just gonna be channeling through messages from my spirit guides, and angels, and source. One thing to say is like your spirit guides might like, if it's for the highest good of both of us, both of our systems, and the reading for all of us, like your spirit guides might be a part of it. I just channel through the messages that are for the highest good. So we're going to delve into the messages coming through for you. Typically, nope, not going to, I guess, talk about that. So let's just see what's coming through for you for starters. And they're showing me a caterpillar first and foremost, and he's inching along this path or walkway. For some reason, what I'm getting is like this caterpillar needs a break. He's either been inching along for a while or something. So let me sit with it for just a second longer here. The other thing about this caterpillar is it's just about to go into its cocoon, actually. And that might even be part of why it's feeling tired here. So part of the message is like you might feel like something is like done or like over with, but there's actually still more to go. It's like you're just about to transform or like hit a breakthrough or start to hit this next phase. So I think like overall what I would say is like keep going. Like just in general, I would rest if you need to. How do you keep going and rest? Just rest as you feel called to, and then keep going when you're feeling well again, you know, is what I'd say. Just balance it out. I guess I know that sounds a bit common sense, but sometimes that's, or maybe a lot of the time, I don't know, that's the answer. Not always though. I think sometimes common sense and common wisdom sometimes steer us in the wrong direction as opposed to our intuition steering us in the right direction. But I'm not saying to forego common sense. I think I used the wrong phrasing there. Anyways, hopefully you just understood what I meant, but let's come back to the message here. I guess the message is you are about to transform. We kind of talked about it in the collective reading, but there is a lot of change on the way. I feel like externally or internally or both is what I'd say for different ones of you, but especially externally. And you're about to hit that cocoon phase where things start, what for this cocoon phase is like things start changing around you. So the metamorphosis might be around you and how your life looks externally. But with this, you've either already changed within or you're going to change within along with it. So I'd say like keep going and things are about to change in some way and probably up level. The other message they're bringing through with this is like a new reality, essentially. It's the way they're showing it to me is very interesting because there's this image of the caterpillar, he's making his cocoon, and then like above it, there was like this void space or something, but it probably wasn't literally that. And then there was like this room that was spinning, and that's where they talked about the new reality. So a lot of things are changing around you to give you a new reality soon is what I'm getting. Some of you have already gone through this and you're about to birth into the new reality is something I'm getting as well. Others of you are just starting into it, but there are new realities coming and a plethora and myriad of different avenues and ways, and it might even seem like it's coming out of the woodwork. But the other thing I'm getting is like sometimes when it seems like all hope is lost, that's when the change happens. So if you're looking to make a big move and something is looking grim about it, or you're trying to get out of a job and it's like not working, or you're trying to get out of a situation, or maybe it's a type of relationship or something, you might get the opportunity at the last second. I'll tell a story. It doesn't always work like that. Of course, sometimes things are just magically are lined up, you know, ahead of time and you just walk forward. One time I was trying to change jobs. I was moving from one state to another. I was trying to stay with the same company and get a different job with the same company elsewhere to kind of just keep my, just to kind of keep my pay, I guess. And what happened was I'd like applied, I'd applied to a couple of positions in the other store. I'd like called like to a couple of other positions, you know, about a couple other positions and like the area I was moving to. And there was like one like position that I applied for. and like gave them a call about. And on literally the last possible day, I probably could have checked my work email because it was my last day at my old location that I was working before I moved. And on a whim, because I had no real reason to check my email, on a whim, I checked my email and saw like that day, like I think it was either just earlier that day or around that time, the manager at the new location gave me an email. They're like, hey, call us today in between these times for this position, please, and we could talk about it. And so it was literally like, I think I checked the email and I was like in the time frame that I needed to call. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I like told my coworkers, like, I need to go make a call real quick. And so literally the last possible day, like the last possible moment, like that lined up, and I talked to them and I was able to kind of, secure the position, because I still had to do some interviews and stuff and talk to them over there. And, eventually it all worked out. But sometimes it's like the last second that things line up and work out, and like spirit has your back. It's just, you kind of have to go on trust or take a leap of faith sometimes. And you'll know who you are for that message is something I'm getting as well. But most of you, 99% of you. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but just keep that in mind if you're trying to make a change and nothing's working, or you're not sure if it's going to work out. And if I hadn't got that new position, like, I probably would have had to take like a severe pay cut, taking another job somewhere. So it really worked out and helped me out. So the next message they'd like to get to here, I'm a little bit stuck on that message still. So there's still more to get to for you guys regarding all of that and the metamorphosis and the new reality and all that. So give me 1 second here. Another message for you guys right now is, if you need to like rest or take a break, that's okay. But there's kind of an additional message for some of you, like not to take too much of a break. Like don't take a break that's like months and months long if you can help it, regarding like things you're working on or things you want to improve on, or like directions you're going. It's like important that you're keeping up with certain things. I feel like it's okay to like take a week or take some time. I feel like if you're taking too much of a break without filling that space with something, you might end up regretting it in some way. It's something I'm getting, interestingly enough, so just keep that in mind. Next, they're showing me a couple of different things. I know giraffes tend to show up a lot for these readings, but it just is what it is. But giraffe is showing up again. This giraffe is really interesting because he has these like rocket boosters, or this like jetpack tied to his back, and he's like ready to, I know this seems a little bit ridiculous, but bear with me. He's like ready to go to outer space in this visual. So what's going on with this one here? So again, like there's all these messages that are kind of along the same vein, where it's like, because this giraffe is about to like rocket boost into space, and it's, the message is like, sometimes it's when you like stop expecting or least expect like this change or these things to occur, it's like they happen, like the rockets ignite and this giraffe is like launched into space. And I guess it's a space giraffe. It has a suit, it can breathe, so it's it's not like dying once it gets into outer space or anything like that. But there are additional messages with this, so I'm going to sit with it just a little bit longer here. So the next thing they're kind of showing for you guys is like a sharp increase to your path. Because they're showing this giraffe going on its path, and sometimes when giraffes, okay, I'm not gonna go into that, but there's this path, and then it like goes up at like a 90-degree angle, which I guess sort of makes sense with a giraffe, for a giraffe with rocket boosters, because it can boost up, I guess, at that angle. But with a sharp increase to your path here, I feel like you guys don't realize how much you're going to elevate soon, like especially energetically. I feel like there's a lot coming in to elevate you, so I would get ready for that and like all that entails, essentially. You're going to be elevating really quickly, which I guess fits in with the other messages like new reality, higher reality, things like that. So we're going to segue into the next message. Bridge showed up in the collective reading, but it's showing up for the fire signs as well. Once again, this bridge is made of glass. So I do have like one thing that when glass bridges show up in my intuition, typically what that means is like the path is clear. And it's kind of a pun because it's like, if you think of a pathway made of glass, like it's see-through, it's clear, you know? But let me see what they'd really like to say with this glass bridge showing up here. So if you feel like you have a lot of like different options right now, because they're kind of showing how like there might be a few or like a number of different options where like of like directions you could go or like things you could work on, etc. It's like there's one or maybe two options that are like especially clear and that would be really good for you to go down. And it's interesting because they're showing it as a giraffe again, but this giraffe is like looking at these options. And like some of these paths like look rocky or there's like just straight up a boulder in the way, but it's like you're still considering them for some reason. But you're going to realize this clear path that takes you to where you would like to go. And you're going to start traversing it is kind of something I'm getting as well. The other thing to kind of say that I'm getting to say with this is if you notice like a clear path, and you're second guessing it, I would kind of like take it anyways. And what do I mean? Like what is a sign that it's a clear path? Like what I'm hearing is like, you see how it all works out and it all makes sense. And you know, it's going to take you somewhere you'd like to go, or you know, it's going to work out, or you just realize it's the way, if that makes sense. Because sometimes we get all the clear signs and all the messages and we're still like, resisting it or second guessing it. They're showing it as like a resistant puppy. I heard resistant puppy and there was like a puppy on a leash and someone like trying to drag it along. Cause maybe this puppy would have a lot of fun at the park, but, the puppy is nervous for whatever reason because it's a new experience and the owner's like, come on, dude, like let's go to the dog park. You're going to love it. So you might be resistant to new experiences or to this new path. But if you realize that there's a clear path and it's the way, like I would be taking that if that makes sense. Or if you're not resistant to it, I feel like it's just coming up is something I'd say. And you might feel like you have multiple options, but there's a really clear path for you to take here. And so there is more with this bridge that they'd like to get to here. I also just feel like you're getting bridged. Give me 1 second here. You're getting like bridged to the higher realms, if that makes sense, because they're showing like a bridge. Well, they don't want me to kind of say the visual I was getting, but I'll tell you what the message is in just a second. Let me sit with it for a second. I just feel like some of you are getting connected higher, essentially, or like you will be soon if you haven't been already. So, and that's going to help you out a ton. And there's kind of like a whole thing behind that. The visual I was getting was like, it looked like a literal like wooden bridge. It was well put together. It wasn't rickety, but like going up to like source where it was like being built. There are all these different things that kind of play into that. There's like a whole thing that they want me to get into, or they're telling me to get into, talking about with you. Cause sometimes there are all these like frameworks or understandings, whether it's like about energy bodies or, I could say mystery school teachings maybe, where like people try to talk about like how the energy bodies work, like how all the etheric chakras work, etc. I would say that I think, and what I've experienced is sometimes the excessive frameworks and excessive attempts to mentally understand things actually gets in the way. Because you're not loose enough to let things be what they are beyond the framework, if that makes sense. I feel like mental understandings and frameworks can be a good starting place with certain things. I realize I might have just lost a few of you, but bear with me for a second if you feel called to. I feel like I just lost a few of you, but give me 1 second here. I'm going to tell this story but I don't feel like it's the right story. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I get this right for you guys. And like just bring through what would be accurate, most helpful, things like that. like sometimes you might have a mental understanding of something because someone gave it to you, and then source or your spirit guides tell you to go do something else. You're like, oh, that doesn't make sense because of this. And they're like, we want you to like let go of that a little bit, have a looser grip of it so we can just make things work. So for instance, like, this is so tough to talk about. I'll just talk about this because I remember one time there was this thing where I was learning about like the energy bodies and like how they expand out and all this stuff. But like once I like learned that and had that mental understanding, I was like, oh, but there's all these people who talk about like empaths and you need to put yourself in a bubble to protect your energies. But my energies are like way out here and people are in my energies. How does putting a bubble around my energies protect me? Like, it was like this mental, like just, this was years ago. This was a long time ago, by the way. So it's not something I messed up on now anymore. But it really kind of messed with me a little bit back in the day. Or, some people will tell you like, oh, visualize the upper etheric chakra as like going way above your head. But then I'm like, oh, but if you live in an apartment and someone's living above you and I'm channeling from up there, does that mean their energies get involved? And like the only times I'd get messed up on it were when that like would get in my head and all of a sudden like I'd start feeling like it would feel weird energetically to me. But once I just kind of let go of the mental understanding and just kind of like let go of it a bit and just kind of let everything be what it was, it didn't matter if people were right above me and I wasn't thinking about that, and I could just I could channel and do things just fine or get energies from source just fine. So I had to kind of let go of the mental frameworks that were kind of tripping me up when I tried to have too much of like a solid mental grasp on things that wasn't serving me, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I'm trying to talk about. I'm sorry it took so long for me to get to this, but that's what I'm trying to talk about with this message for some reason. And maybe some of you need to hear that where, maybe some of you do have something going on where maybe not literally this, but someone's like, oh, your energies are out to here. And then like you're all tripped up mentally because like, oh, that means like if someone's within this range, I've tried to do the bubble, but that means it's outside of them. But does it really? But it's like if you let go of the mental grasp, you'd be like, okay, visualizing the bubble around me, if that even works for you, if that's something that works for you, that's just like an intention, and I can let go of the tight mental grasp of what it's supposed to be and allow this to be an intention and just let things work how they will and trust that it's going to do what it needs to do without me mentally, totally cognitively understanding it. It's going to work in the right ways through that intention. And even if it doesn't make sense based on these frameworks or mystery school teachings or whatever that people tried to hand me as like starting places or whatever. So I'm sorry I'm like caught up on this this message right now, but hopefully this is helpful or at least interesting to hear about. But I was saying all that because this bridge, it kind of reminded me of this, again, mystery school teaching, which is the... and I've heard different things with this word, Antakarana. So Antakarana is also like a sacred geometry symbol, I think. I can't remember if someone like channeled it through or if it's, or what happened with that. And I heard about it once and then I just like never heard about it again. Like it was like really big in my world for like a brief time span, and then I never heard anyone talk about it again. But I've also heard people use that for like I don't know if you want to say metaphorical, but the bridge to source, if that makes sense, where it's just supposed to be like through your upper etheric chakras, or like the rainbow bridge to source. And that's kind of what that bridge seemed like it was representing to me. But I just don't want you to get caught up in the taking it too literally and getting tripped up on it, which you won't now, is what I'm getting. So that's good. But that's kind of what I was getting to with like that higher connection to source, getting bridge to source more and things like that, getting more information and all of that. And again, you don't have to take everything like super literally. Take it as it resonates. I'm so sorry that took so long. Let's move on to the next message here. Maybe I shouldn't apologize. Let's move on to the next message here. So they're kind of showing me the crystal malachite as well. That can tie in with Archangel Raphael, I believe. And it's also like a good like healing crystal in general. I can't remember if it's a good crystal for like meant to be for like physical healing or not. But what's up with the malachite crystal here? I feel like some of you are transitioning into being more of a healer, if that makes sense. Like if you feel drawn to that pathway and you're watching this reading and you've known you felt drawn to that, I feel like this is your time to step into that more and embody that more and be that. And it's going to be important that you do, is something I'm getting. Like I wouldn't ignore that call if you're getting that call, and you'll get the resources to support you if you venture down that journey. I don't know if I do anything mega drastic where you're just like quitting your job, without any real incentive from the universe or message or guidance to do that, but start moving that direction is what I'd say. I guess we're in gemstone land next because they're showing me a ruby. And there are certain crystals, I don't even think rubies are like this, but there are certain gemstones that have this I forget what it's called. I think it's asterism. Like there are certain rose quartz spheres. I think it's a little bit rarer, but that have like an asterism in it, which means like if you look at it in the lights, there's going to be like a 5, or I think it's actually like a 6-point star or something like that. That's just like there as you look at it. It's actually really cool. I think there are types of garnet that might have it as well. And that was more what they were showing me, was like a garnet that like had an asterism like that. But they started with rubies. So let me see what the message is here with this one here. I just feel like you guys are meant to shine more. This is weird because I feel like a ruby that's like polished and really gemmy, like of course that's, and I know like, if we're going on like a scientific literal basis, they're I don't know if they're making fun of me. They don't make fun of me, but as a joke, they were showing me the the emoji with the glasses and the tape in the middle. That's like it's like the nerd emoji. They were showing that to me as I started to get into the scientific explanation of it. But like I know crystals don't like. I mean, some might, but there's like that song like "Shine Bright Like a Diamond." It's like, and people are like, diamonds don't shine; they just reflect the light and all that stuff. So whatever, but. The message I'm getting with this metaphor and this symbolism is you guys are meant to shine more, even if it seems like it's like a gemstone that's not meant to shine as much, or like, like you wouldn't, because sometimes ruby is like the raw ruby corundum and it's not very gemmy. It's not necessarily like a lustrous, gemmy, eye-catching. I mean, it could be eye-catching still. They look pretty cool, but a gem like that. Unless it's like polished up and gemmy and things like that. But I feel like you guys are going to be more polished up and gemmy, or you're going to have that metaphorical shine to you that like, that they're kind of showing me with this, if that makes sense. So you might not think you are, but I feel like you're going to be more. Is something, even if it's surprising, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, we're still in gemstone land because the next thing they're showing me is an orthoceras, which is like a fossil kind of rock that's sold with gemstones typically. I feel like it typically is associated with like past lives or like ancestral stuff because it's old. I mean, all rocks are old, right? But but it's like a fossil and all that. But they're also kind of talking about how a lot of those fossilized creatures have these like it's a different meaning of shell, I guess, but these shells are this like divine protection, this protective thing to them that like keeps them safe from like predators or things like that. You guys are just more divinely protected than you realize, especially as you're going down like your divinely guided path or your journey, or you venture into what you're supposed to do. And you guys always have been, but you might just see it a bit more, or like realize how divinely protected you are from things, like the way things play out around you. Or maybe like someone around you in your life like goes down metaphorically, or like a family member, and you're like, oh man, I didn't realize how well I was taken care of in my circumstances. Like, I'm so glad I have like the job I have or the home I have, etc. So you guys are more taken care of than you realize. So if you need to be patient in certain things, like be patient, but that's just kind of something I'm getting as well. And the next gemstone is selenite. So for you guys here, we already talked about things changing in your life a lot this reading, but I feel like things are also getting cleared out of your life a lot right now. It's almost like a spring cleaning, but maybe literally, but it's metaphorical as well. So you might even feel like things are cleared out of you, like energetically or idea wise or belief system wise, or maybe you feel like you're being spring cleaned by the universe on some level, or energetically or mentally or whatever. But it's just kind of time to clean house and like start fresh and make space for new things. And if you're not doing that, it's probably time to do that on some level. Or the other thing is like when the universe is kind of making these things happen, it can just happen. Like maybe you'll end up booking a session with it could be a therapist as well. They said therapist, and like that's helping you clear out beliefs or lower energies, or like a healing session, and that helps clear things out. Or there's a lot of different things that can tie in where the universe is making things happen through the things around you or directly, depending on where you're at. So that's something I'll say as well. One of the last messages I have for you, I have this, there's this poster on the wall here, on the wall, and it has like the chakra system essentially, and they're really they're pointing my eyes essentially to the solar plexus on this chakra poster. So I want to just see if there's like a message with that they have for you. So this is a good thing. There's like a solar plexus expansion, but it's like personal power. They're giving me the words divine I am, which isn't a concept. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. So there's like an expansion to your personal power and like your fortitude, maybe even your willpower. It's not an ego thing, so you don't have to worry about that. It's more like you're finding a seat within yourself more and creating a seat in your life for yourself more, so you can like direct things a bit better. They're showing me the Empress as well, so it could be like an Empress type energy, metaphorically, of course, unless, I don't know, maybe you rule over multiple countries and have an army, and that's pretty cool. But that's kind of a joke. Coming back to it though, you might have a seat in your life a bit more where you're like directing things, or just maybe in a positive way, a bit more in control, or just more in your power. So that's going to be good is what I'd say. And again, we already kind of talked about this, but they're showing a crown chakra expansion. So this is a weird message, but if you feel like your crown chakra is expanding, if you feel like pulled around by like energies around you, or maybe even by your guidance, or it's like it's upgrading and you feel just a little bit like it's too much for the some of you that this is for you, it's going to even out and just be better than ever. So be patient with yourself, and that is what I'd say. It's like you're upgrading, I suppose. And I know this just keeps going, but then the last message, or one of the last messages here, they're kind of talking about the root system, but it's like your root chakra, I guess, or your connection to the earth. I feel like getting grounded is important. Like you might be very up in the air right now, just with a lot of changes happening for some of you, or changes happening within yourself, or maybe like something triggers you and then you're like way up in the air and like out of your body or something. I just feel like grounding is important, and it's going to help you keep a level head, and like even a lot of these things out that have been like troubling you is something I'm getting, interestingly enough, where you'll just like kind of know what to do. Like you'll know your clear path. Things will ground in more. The spring cleaning will be easier. So it does seem like it ties some of it together, but I just feel like, making sure you're grounded is going to be helpful. Okay, so that's it for the fire signs, sun, moon, or rising. They are showing me I said sun, moon, or rising, then they were really showing me the moon, like a full moon for a second there. But I actually feel like that's for the next reading. So I'm going to close it now. Hope that was helpful. Do whatever was for your highest good. We'll move to the next group here. I hope you like my avant-garde. I don't know if I'm using that word right, but avant-garde check marks on the board. It's modern art check marks is what I call them. And I feel like they're looser than than last week. Man, TikTok must be adding like a lot of things to the lives, because I'm seeing these messages like someone just reached member level 10. So I don't know who reached member level 10, but that's awesome. And Britt, thank you for setting the tiny diny. And you're welcome, Heather. This might be a stupid question, but you're saying you don't know what your element sign is. I don't think that's stupid. I think there's, if you think of the zodiac, like there's 12 different signs. There's a lot to keep track of if you're just getting into it. And I know they didn't want me to kind of say what I was about to say, but I was going to say something along the lines of like, sometimes, when you're kind of a seasoned vet and you have more experience with it, it's just second nature. But when or maybe you're not newer and you just haven't delved into it as deeply, that's fine too. But if you just kind of Google your zodiac sign, and then Google like what element is this zodiac sign, then it should pop up and tell you what what that is, if that makes sense. And I'm sure like if you are in the description or the comments and you let everyone know like what it is, people would be probably willing to help you with that as well. Someone was asking if they'll make friends, and I was just getting yes, you will. Be patient. Sometimes you just need to have the right people. The other thing I'm kind of getting as advice for you is to work on yourself, and you'll start to draw that in more. I also feel like you're kind of in between seasons right now on some level. And sometimes that can be disconcerting when it seems like nothing's really coming in, but it will, is what I'd say. And if you're already working on yourself, just keep working on yourself. But that's what I was getting for you. So just be gentle with yourself. And Alyssa, I'm getting yes. So before this turns into a million personal readings on the live, because I do. One thing I found has been cool with these lives sometimes is if I'll hang out a little bit between readings as much as I'm guided to. I think I need a napkin. So, this live will be 2% me wiping my mouth because I drank a smoothie and it got in my beard. I'm so sorry, guys. I might get a napkin in a second, unless you're like into this in some way. I don't know. Very on point so far. Awesome. So glad to hear it. No worries. I appreciate it. Yeah, we can. Emily is asking, can you talk about stagnancy, please? Sure. I was getting to do it for a second here. Also, thank you for the feedback, guys, with On Point, and that it's been good. I really appreciate it, because I am doing it a bit differently today. Usually I have like, not that I am too worried about it, honestly, but I usually have like a ton of messages ahead of time, and then I'm like bringing through a lot of additional messages during that. When I would do more one-on-one readings, I would sometimes have messages ahead of time, but there were definitely other readings where I was guided not to, and I just flowed the whole reading. So I'm not too much of a stranger to it. As far as like stagnancy, though, what I'm hearing to say about it right now, at least for you and some of the people tuning in that are dealing with this, the first thing I'm getting, first and foremost, is like really clearing your energies and consistently keeping up on that and like keeping it moving like that is actually going to help with that on some level. Because sometimes stagnancy is just something we are picking up from other people or feeling it from people around us. And we kind of like, the way I'm hearing it is like maybe you end up getting entrained. Some people get entrained, ENTRI, oh my gosh. Can I spell today? ENTRAINED. Entrained. That is correct. Spelling bee winner. I'm hopefully I didn't spell it wrong that time, but something along those lines. But entrained to that frequency without realizing it. So if you're kind of keeping it clear and like working on yourself in that way, I feel like that that's going to be one step to helping. The other thing is like sometimes, not always, but sometimes we feel a bit more stagnant because we need to rest and we need to process something and our body needs downtime, and the universe is like, no, no, you need to, you need to chill. But I feel like that's different than stagnancy. Honestly, that's just like, the universe is just like, hey, chill. So beyond all that here, the other thing I'll say with stagnancy, though, those are like the first things coming through, at least for you or some of the people tuning in. For some of the people tuning in more, as I was talking about it, if you'd like to avoid stagnancy, what would help people avoid stagnancy as far as like you guys need to hear right now? What I'm hearing, honestly, are just like self-work and discipline. Like, if you are keeping up with your energetic maintenance and like healing with yourself, that's like at least one form of self-work. Like that's one way you can be doing your work and like keeping yourself in a good place and like, you know, up leveling your frequency, things like that, going towards the things you're drawn to, whether it's classes or energy healing sessions or beyond that, you know, it could even be therapy, things like that. If you're doing your work, that's going to help you avoid stagnancy. I think sometimes people also get stagnant because they'll be like, I mean, what I'm kind of hearing is like, they'll be afraid to take steps in their life, afraid to like leave a person if they're feeling called to or need to, afraid to quit a job that's holding them back. And I'm not saying to quit your job cold turkey and not have anything lined up. It's like, you can do it safely and like take the steps necessary to start applying and like, you know, allow the universe to bring the right thing for you at the right time if, you know, when it's time to like leave a certain situation. But I think sometimes people just stay stuck because they're afraid. And one way to avoid stagnancy as well is to potentially like work on that, if that makes sense, and overcome certain fears and like moving forward, doing what you need to do. And again, that can take self-work, that can take a certain amount of fortitude even, or whether on whatever level, you know, energetic, otherwise. So anything else I would be fast for me to say about it though, while we're here? Another thing that I'm getting to say is like, if you feel stagnant right now, any of you tuning in, another thing you can do is just find some way to move the energies. There's a number of ways we could talk to. One, we already kind of mentioned it with like energy healing sessions, things like that. Two, this is going to sound really silly, but like going on walks or like exercising, moving your body, because it's kind of like, you know, you go on a walk, you move forward, you move the energy, you start to churn things, sort of. You could also see like going on walks as like self-care and self-love, depending on how you do it as well, like getting out in nature, things like that. So all these other things we could talk about, but, you know, taking a class that's going to move the energy or like improve yourself or, you know, even just like making small changes in your life to like get yourself out of like ruts or routines, or, start having the neurons firing a little bit differently in a good way, in a positive way in your brain, you know, learn something new you feel drawn to. So there's any way you can think to like move the energy positively in your life, probably going to be helpful as well. Like, you know, again, like new routines, things like that. So there is a bit more we could talk to here. There's like something where almost two that would be helpful as well, or really bust it open for whoever needs to hear it. Anything else on stagnancy that would be helpful? We already kind of talked about this, but if you're doing something to help bring energy through you as well, like from source, again, energy healing modality. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with this, but like having someone else help facilitate that. You know, it could even just be like channeling messages is like, you know, it's kind of like bringing it through in a way, you could say. Maybe it's a little bit different. But it kind of does work that way is what I'm getting, or could. And that's going to be helpful as well. But part of it's really just getting unstuck within yourself and allowing yourself to move forward in life. And, you know, sometimes they don't want me to get into this other angle that I was about to say, so I'll avoid that. But, you know, you don't always have to like wait to get unstuck. You can just try little things and see what happens. Sometimes we're stuck because that's where we need to be. Sometimes we're in a holding pattern because the universe has some type of divine timing with something. But you'll realize the difference as you get in tune with yourself, your path, your intuition, your divine guidance, etc. And you'll be able to relax into it a bit more instead of like, oh, am I stuck? You know, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm getting to say. There's definitely more that I could get to with that, and there's definitely more that, you know, might pertain to a specific circumstance where it's like there could be a specific thing like someone needs to do that they've been reluctant to do, or they're just not doing. So if you can think of small or big ways to move the energy, work on yourself, overcome fear, try something new, learn something new, help you feel alive in your life, regardless of what others think. I feel like that's going to be helpful, or at least a step here. And again, one thing I'm being guided to say, if you're moving the energies in your life, that's going to be enough, is what I'm getting. So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah. Someone's saying, why do you start to say something and then stop yourself out loud? Just curious. No offense. Honestly, it's because I'll have an idea to say something and my guides will say, no, don't say that. Because it's not going to be the right thing that whoever I'm talking to needs to hear it. Honestly, that's why that happens. So I guess it's me trying to get out of my own way. Bring out your inner child. That could be good advice as well, for sure. That is good advice. And sometimes people will stifle things in themselves because they're afraid of what others will think, but it could be the thing that's exactly what they need to do, if that makes sense. Okay, so they would like me to move on to the next reading. So hopefully that was helpful for whoever needed to hear it. So if you have an earth sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is meant to be for you when you see it. So I'm just going to channel messages through for this reading, and we'll see what is for the highest good to come through for you, fully for your highest good. So they're starting with the color yellow, interestingly enough, and there's all these bees. It's really interesting because it turned, like the color yellow almost like turned into like honey or something like that. And there were all these bees on it, but then they kind of get like stuck in the honey, or it's almost like, how like bugs would get caught in amber and then they would be, discovered like millions of years later or whatever. It's almost kind of like that. Like they get stuck in the honey and then like the honey gets like fossilized, or like, I don't think honey turns into amber, but in this scenario, it kind of does in some way, or something happens like that. So what's the message here regarding the bees, and the honey and all that? So one message for you guys is to like keep it moving, even if you are winning, I suppose. Because like some of you might be having certain like victories, and then you kind of start to rest on your laurels. But these bees were like kind of like celebrating, but they were kind of just like getting. I know like not all bees eat the honey and stuff like that, but just bear with me here. The bees are kind of like eating like the honey, and then they kind of get like fat, and they just get like complacent, and then they get like trapped in the honey, for, I'm not saying you're going to get trapped for millions of years, of course, literally, but what would be highest message bring through on this one here? Even if you're like winning in some way, like keep it moving, like there are going to be bigger wins, as you keep going, or if you keep going is something I'm getting with that one. The other thing is, sometimes, maybe we get complacent because we have a lot of sweet things in our life, or like a lot of good. And maybe like sometimes people don't always do the things to keep that good in their life. Like they don't keep up the momentum. So I'm not saying you're going to lose it all. Actually, I'm kind of saying the opposite. I feel like you're going to feel the kick in the pants to keep going, or this is the message you need to hear to, keep yourself from getting stuck in the honey. I know we just talked about stuckness that whole time. So even if there's a lot of things that bring you joy, which is awesome, and I feel like there's a lot of applause for you for that, I would kind of keep it moving at the same time, or find a balance, where you're, still working out, even if you have a relationship is one example they're giving me, or you're still working on your business, even if your business is successful, things like that, and like keep leveling up. Cause that's going to take you further and keep you from getting stuck in this era is what I'm getting. Cause like sometimes people hit a certain level and maybe they stop working and they get stuck, but that doesn't need to be you. I don't feel like it will be you for like most of you, like a very vast percentage of you who are resonating with that message. So just keep that in mind. And even if like the wins that you're resonating with this message seem like really small to you, it's still a message to keep it moving. Like there are bigger wins ahead, essentially. The next thing, I guess bridges are a big theme today with the symbolism in the readings, because it's been in every reading so far, but bridge is showing up for you guys as well. This one is specifically a bridge to a new world. And I feel like you guys are almost to this new world. So you might have been like leaving a situation behind, like bridging a past experience, moving towards what's for you, of course. I feel like if you're leaving something behind, that's actually a good move. Like you're making the right choice. I know sometimes people like, sometimes we just second guess everything. The second we start to like lose something or lose our grip on something we used to have, like a friendship or a job or something, and we start to like question everything because it seems safe, because it's familiar and on all that stuff. But if you're leaving something behind, it's actually the right choice, is what I'm getting for you, which is awesome. They're also showing me a mountain next. It's like in this visual, you're crossing the bridge, but then there's a mountain on the other side, which sometimes mountains can represent like a challenge in the reading. But I want to see like what's the highest, best message for me to get to for you with this mountain here. Let me sit with it for a second. So here's a weird message. It might seem like there's a mountain ahead, but I actually feel like you've already been climbing it. It's like maybe like you see a challenge ahead and you're like, oh man, a challenge, but it's like you've already been going through the challenge. It's like a really weird message like that, and maybe that'll make sense for your hope. I mean, it should. It's meant to. Hopefully it makes sense for your current circumstance where you like put the dots together. You're like, oh yeah, I see how that could be true. But even if it seems like there's further challenge, I feel like the challenge is not going to be as bad as it's been like in the past. Maybe you're like climbing a mountain, you've already climbed the roughest parts, or maybe like this mountain up ahead looks really challenging, but it's not. There's like a safe passage through it, or there's like a secret trail that once you get up close to it, you see it, you're like, oh, I could just do it this way, and it all works out, or something like that. So even if it seems like there are challenging times ahead, they're like not as bad as it seems. So I would keep going is kind of the message with that one. Even if these new lands you're bridging to seem intimidating, or the challenges up ahead look like obstacles or look difficult, I feel like it's not going to be as bad as it seems, is something I'm getting. Funny enough, an example that is coming to me, I know Lainey just talked about this, is like working nights, maybe an example, because I kind of had this happen to me as well, but maybe you had like an opportunity to get out of a certain job, but it's like the job is like at nights and you're like, oh, I don't know. But maybe it'll actually be easy for you, as an example, of course. So, it's just something to keep in mind there. There is more with this message as well, though. I feel like on the other side of this mountain, whatever it is, it's like a lot of success. And it's kind of that message of like just one more thing. It's like maybe like you're on the way to success in some way, or a success for you, or becoming successful. And there's just like one more challenge for you to overcome, or like one more big project, or like just like one more thing to like go through. And, it's almost like a message, like it would be a shame for you to give up now if it's just like you've already climbed so much and there's just like one more thing, mountain to climb, or, one more passage to roll through. You kind of get what I'm saying. It's kind of like the final boss of a video game, but it's like the final boss isn't even that hard, is kind of what I'm getting, because of all your experience. Maybe if we're going to use video game analogies, maybe you over leveled. So, it's like actually really easy for you, but it looks intimidating because it's like the final boss or something like that, is like the way they're showing it to me. Like the way they're also saying is like, you wouldn't play through an entire video game just to quit at the final boss because you're intimidated or something like that, right? And for this example, they're like, it's the same with life. It's like you didn't come all this way just to like stop because there's one more thing. Or stop because you have to go through another like challenge or whatever, which again, I don't even think is going to be that bad based on what I'm getting. So just don't quit if you've already come this far is what I'd say. Whatever this is resonating for you for. Could be a job, a business, a new thing you're doing, getting in shape, whatever. So the next thing they're kind of moving to, we're actually going further on this journey. It's like the bridge, there's the mountain, there's the success, and like going further, actually, I feel like you're going to be building a life that you enjoy, I guess now, but in the future is really what this is speaking to for me, for you. You know what I mean? Because like as you've been kind of going through any like challenges, obstacles, heading towards what you're heading towards, you've also been like building yourself up, or maybe you feel like you've just been building yourself up, but it's like it's actually moving towards something. It's actually building towards something. After you've built yourself up through all of this, which if you're not there, I feel like you're almost there. Like you're going to have like a life that you'll be able to enjoy, or you'll be able to build that, or you can move towards that more easily because you're ready, if that makes sense. Another thing they're jumping in here is like they're showing me like a breaking point, and there's like the visual is like someone standing on like a plank between two rocks, and like the plank looks like it's about to break, or there's like a rock on the plank of wood or something like that. So all these messages of like, yeah, keep going. If this might not be all of you, but if you are tuning into this, whether now or on YouTube or when I repost it, 'cause it's meant to be timeless for you when you see it. If you feel like you're at a breaking point, I would rest. That's my caveat. I would take some time. I would take, if you need a month, whatever it is. But that's like a strong if is what I'd say. If you don't feel like you're at your breaking point and you can keep going, and you might have to approach this intuitively, then keep going, of course. Because some of you are at this point where you're like, I don't know if I can keep going. I would rest. And I feel like once you rest, you'll be like, yeah, never mind, I can do it. It's kind of what they're showing me. So, but I don't feel like this is going to, what percentage of you are like at this breaking point here? I feel like it's very small. I feel like it's like 2% of you, or like a very small percentage of you. If you feel like it's more, then that's fine. But it's not worth like breaking over something, because that's a whole other journey or detour. Should I get into that? No. Okay. So let's see what else would be I'm supposed to get to. But the point is, you're going to be getting to a life you enjoy is really what I was getting to. So and I guess we're going further beyond that, because beyond that here, they're giving me the word like a legacy. Like some of you are building up a legacy with what you're doing and what you're building on Earth. For others of you, your legacy, for you at least, is going to be a life you enjoy. Take it as it resonates in whichever you would enjoy more. Because for some reason, if you're building like a legacy or a life you enjoy, like long term or longer term, that's going to be powerful. That's going to have an impact on the people around you, potentially an impact on the world, depending on who you are, what you're working on. But really, again, what I'm saying, don't give up now. And even if you're one of those people that's at the, never mind. They didn't want me to get there, but if you have to rest and then keep going, that's fine too. So they're also showing me a fire as well, which came through in the last reading. But what's up with this fire here? I feel like the universe is, give me 1 second here. The universe is keeping you in a place where your fire is hot, like your inner fire, if that makes sense. I feel like if there is any type of like hot seat that you feel like you're in, it's just, there's like a fire under your pants. It's just to keep you moving forward, whether that's subtle or blatant or whatever. I feel like it's going to be subtle for some of you. I feel like for others of you, the universe is going to be keeping your fire hot so that you will keep going, essentially. Kind of like a steam engine is the example they're showing me, keeping the coals hot or whatever. So the steam engine can keep going here. Next thing they're showing me is heavy lifting, like someone lifting like really heavy weights. I feel like you're done with a certain like really heavy lifting period. Or again, I guess I'm talking about this again, but maybe you've had like really, really heavy challenges or like extreme, and you're like afraid the future challenges are going to be like that. And I don't feel like they will, honestly. It's if they for some of you, it's only going to be if you really need it and you're ready for it, and it's not going to break you. Is what I'd say. But for most of you, you've already like done the heavy lifting in some area or in some way. It's like you don't need that anymore. It's like you've built that strength for the next period. So things aren't going to be as difficult. I think I'm going to close the reading soon. Next thing they're showing me is a cloud, and there's okay. With the cloud, they're showing me cycle, like the cycle of rain, and how like water evaporates into the clouds turn into rain, and it's a whole cycle. So let me sit with it for a second longer here. So the weird message I'm getting for you guys is I don't feel like some of you, or all of you maybe, even like realize how cyclical your life has been in some regards. And like how a lot of what you've been going through has been cyclical in a way, but you're actually closing a lot of cycles or starting like new ones that have never been seen before, at least by you is something I'm getting, but potentially by the whole world, which why not? Why we can create cool things. But it's like time for new cycles. So a lot of the cycles you're afraid of because you've noticed these repeating patterns are leaving. It might take some time. It might take you redirecting some energies, or it might take a little bit of work, but I feel like you are closing a lot of cycles, and that's the message I'm getting. So it's time for new. Another message is like, I would consider being like intentional with what you're creating, in what you'd like to see in your world. I feel like you're going to have an opportunity to create cycles how you would like to see them. Some of you, for others of you, you're going to be handed a new cycle that is actually amazing. So it might take some time. Again, it might take some efforts. You might be in the process of creating this, but it can happen. So I will say it again, don't give up here. Okay, we're going to close the reading now. They want to bring in the crystal malachite again for some reason for you guys here. And what's up with that one here? I feel like you guys are healing intensely. Maybe you don't realize it, but some of the difficulty, if not a lot of it, if you've been going through any, has been like a healing phase. And again, I feel like you're almost out of that phase, or you will be, and just on to better. So, and sometimes we go through certain things so we can clear some stuff and have a better life. And we think that things we've gone through are going to keep repeating, and they're not going to. So that seems like a theme right now for you guys here. So I hope that was helpful, resonated, did whatever was for your highest good for the earth signs. Ooh, and we're going to move to the air signs. Let me, oh, my friend. Let me do this here. Ooh, is there anything else we need to get to before we close it out here? I'll say it after I do this. But yeah, you guys are awesome. So I don't know if you need to hear that. I'm going to take a quick second to drink water, of course, talk to people here. We already did the fire, but I will be reposting it in the next couple of days. Oh, thank you. I always need to hear that. I hear smoothie check. Yeah. I think peanut butter in smoothies is one of my favorite things. I feel like if you add enough peanut butter and banana to a smoothie, you can make almost any smoothie really good. Don't quote me on that, because I feel like you could still make that bad if you tried, but... Ooh, thank you for the lightning bolts, Unbreakable Spirit. Ooh, peanut butter, banana, and honey with cinnamon always hits for me. That is a recommendation. That sounds good. I made peanut butter cookies. Heck yeah. Oh no, I miss bananas in my smoothies. I cut most sugar. Well, I don't want to say oh no, but I understand. Oof. But hopefully that's going well. Cutting sugar. Hopefully you'll at least just feel really good. I feel like you will actually, China Moon Girl. But oh no, take care of yourself, Cow Tipper. You said you just got over your third time being sick. Take care of yourself. I do. I have zero pain in my hip. That's awesome. Good work. Way to stick to it. Improve your life. Whew. So funny that I ate a spoonful of peanut butter before jumping on here and hearing that. That's all. Didn't realize the peanut butter would be so synchronistic for y'all. I love it. A lot of healing going. A lot of healing going on. Your messages help. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you. That's a good t-shirt. Improve your life. Heck yeah. Someone should make that shirt. I'm also going to take this opportunity to give a shout out to the moderators in the chat. China Moon Girl. I don't know if Destiny's here today, but Destiny sometimes jumps in. Anyone else here who's here and just kind of maybe they're doing something else, but just thank you for being here and helping to watch over the chat as you are. And just thanks to anyone in the chat who's helping other people out or letting people know what's going on. I really appreciate it. And you, yeah, thank you. Peanut butter symbolizes patience and temperance. Huh, I didn't realize that. I like that. Okay. I did this thing, they're telling me to tell you this, but I did this thing where I can't remember what happened, but I must have been listening to like a reading or a podcast or someone talking somewhere, or maybe it just popped up randomly in a video about like people going through like major life lessons or like major themes as life lessons. I'm like, oh, are there any like I'm going through? And the one thing I heard, well, what they said is like the only one you're really going through is patience. So I guess patience is I don't know if it's one of the things I'm working on overall, but I don't always consider myself an impatient person, honestly. It could just be like maybe it's a long-term patience or something like that, but I don't know. Heck yeah. Well, I think it'll be awesome when it does come, Kara. That's what I'd say. Awesome. That dang temperance card. Whew. Heck yeah. May it be so. Are the Sarah's asking if the readings apply to their moon and rising sign. Yes, the readings are also meant to apply to the moon and rising signs. So potentially, oh my gosh, it's the smoothie burps. The smoothie coffee surprise burps. Potentially, you could have 2-3 readings. I know some people have like all earth or all fire or something like that. Bless their souls. But so they only got one reading. So I know it's maybe not. I mean, on some level, everything's perfect, right? But I know like the system isn't always like totally like rounded out for everybody. But hopefully, like y'all are just kind of getting what you need, you know, from each reading or, you know, from your readings in general. Anyways, if you don't have smoothie burps, are you even living? That's a great question. I have the whole shebang. Heck yeah. I have, yeah, you're all water, so you're patient. Oh, that's, yeah. Oh, dang. Look at y'all. You all water people. That's cool. Oh, heck yeah. Eight fire placements and 1 earth, 1 water. Dang. Am I dead? I don't have burps. You're not dead. You're not dead. You're in smoothie burp purgatory. that's a joke. You're very much alive and well, I'm sure. Okay, let's start the air. Well, I'm gonna give it one more second, then we'll start the air signs here. I need more water. I'm in like bevy heaven over here. Oh. Will this be on YouTube? Yes, I'll be reposting it on YouTube after the live. So probably either today or tomorrow. Tuesday at the absolute latest is what I'd say. We're going to start the air signs, air signs, sun, moon, or rising. So these are meant to be for you when you see them, whether live or on the YouTube in the future. So whenever you're seeing it, it's perfect for you. YouTube is called, so Sarah is asking what my YouTube is called, just Channeling Source. It's 2 words, but channeling has 1 L on my YouTube. So 1 letter L. So Channeling Source, or if you go to my Linktree in my TikTok bio, you can find it there. Or I think TikTok used to have links directly to like Insta and YouTube right in the bios, but I think they removed those. So, or I think my website has links to my social media as well. So whatever is easiest for you, or just Google Channeling Source, or sorry, YouTube search Channeling Source. So air sign, sun, moon, or rising. Let's see. I'm going to, of course, channel just messages from my spirit guides, the angels, and source, and bring through whatever what would be for the highest good for me to bring through for you, I suppose. So, and what they keep having me say now is like, if it's for the highest good for both our systems, for the readings and for, everybody, your spirit guides will jump in as is for the highest good for all of us and for you and for the readings. So, but I feel like that's a bit sparing. So, and I feel like someone's thinking this, but it doesn't really matter if it's yours or mine to a certain degree. It can sometimes to a certain degree, because I have to be working with what's highest and best for me to work with. But they all have that higher perspective and that infinite wisdom, infinite intelligence. It should be coming from source. So there's, it should be like all knowing at least on a certain level, or all the way is what they're correcting me on. So, it doesn't mean every single thing is going to be exactly like a personal reading, but it shouldn't matter if I'm channeling your spirit guides or not, is what I'm getting into. I'm sorry for that big detour on me getting to the reading, but they wanted me to explain it, I guess, for anyone who was wondering about that. So let's see what would be highest best to come through first and foremost for you. They're starting with a banana, which has been a common symbol for these readings here. They're showing this banana being peeled. I actually feel like this is a good thing. And this message is like you're being exposed as like the layers are being peeled back or whatever, but it's actually, they're saying it's a really good thing, because I feel like it is actually going to lead to success for you, because you're kind of getting to your core or to your truth. And I feel like if you're getting like exposed to the people around you, which doesn't have to be bad, by the way, it's actually just like, what was I hearing? It's like allowing them to see the true you, if that makes sense, which could lead to deeper connections with people. Or if other people don't like it, they're not for you, if that makes sense. So I feel like living in your truth is going to be a theme, and like almost being forced to. It's like you won't be able to hide it as something I'm getting. But again, it's like a good thing, because it starts to magnetize like all that's for you and what belongs with you, instead of being stuck with things that aren't for you, by pretending to be something you're not, or something like that, if that makes sense. Not that you were doing that, but that's just kind of what's coming through right now. I don't feel like all of you were doing that or pretending to be something you weren't. I just feel like in some level, like there's some type of exposure going on for all of you. It's like where you're being, and it's not like indecent exposure, mind you, but you're being exposed to others. So the next thing here, they're giving me the word morals. Interestingly enough, the message I'm hearing for you guys next is like intuition leads to the best morals. So what do they mean by that here? Sometimes we're sold a system of morals by other people, such as like religion or probably worse, the government. And we're taught that is morality. But it's not always so cut and dry, and it actually doesn't always fit morality, even if it's religion, even if that's a barometer that a lot of people or most people around you utilize for morality, because it could actually be very twisted. It could be twisted to serve an agenda that religion has, or a religious leader has, or a government has, a newscaster has, etc., or like a job, or a business, like, because a job might, a toxic job might, or boss might try to convince you it's immoral to call off work for your kid or something like that, which they didn't even want me to use that example, so I'm gonna venture away from that. But all that being said, if you're honing your intuition and using that to live by, especially highest connected, and trying to doing your best to be like divinely guided through things, you're going to start making the right moral choices like automatically through your divine guidance, is kind of something I'm getting. So don't worry too much about what other people are selling you about morality. It's within, and you have to be honest with yourself when you do this and like, authentic with it, and really listening to the divine and your intuition. But it's going to be more legitimately like moral, I guess, if you're listening to your intuition. I feel like morality, I have to be careful with this, because what I don't mean is like go be awful and do whatever you want. I feel like morality is like a weird construct in some ways by humans. Like my question is more something along the lines of like, what does true highest most infinite source want us to do? What does highest consciousness say? And highest consciousness working through us have us doing? It is things I'd be asking, instead of like, what is someone's judgment of what is moral, and like trying to live your life by someone else's code. Does that make sense? So I feel like you're also potentially getting in tune with your internal code, if you will. And that's like going to be a better way to live, because you'll be less stuck in some way. You could also talk about like society's standards with this, or society's projections on what's moral. And like, I feel like I need to be careful, because like there are areas where it does align, right? Like we don't want to go out and like murder people. Like that's not cool. Like no. So just keep that in mind. The next thing that we'll get to here, they're showing me the moon, which actually they said the moon was supposed to be there for the earth signs, but we missed it. So whatever, I guess we'll just do the moon here for you guys now. And you know how there's that phrase like the moon is made out of cheese? They're kind of talking about that. So let me stay with this for a second here. They're giving me a message where it's like sometimes you don't know until you're there. So it's like maybe people used to, I don't think anyone did, but maybe people used to think that the moon was made out of cheese or something, but then they landed on the moon and are like, this is just space dust that will kill me if I eat it. This is a lie. So what's the message with this one here? I don't know. It's kind of a weird message where sometimes there are things, and we'll kind of get to like what the point is in a second, but sometimes there are things you think are going to be awful to go through, and you go through it and you're like, this isn't that bad. And then there are things that you think are going to be like fine to go through, and you're like, oh, this is terrible. And like, I think intuitively we can know. My truth is like, you can know. And maybe if you don't, there's probably a reason, but if I don't know. I just feel like holding that stance allows to open up at least the possibility of you being able to know to whatever extent you're ready for, or whatever extent you're at. But as far as what they're getting to with this message here is like, they're kind of saying like, don't prejudge your destination or a path you want to go down. I would really be like feeling things out intuitively, and not just like prejudging things as like, oh, this is going to be awful. Oh, this is going to be great. Because maybe you get a job opportunity like in a factory or something, and you're like, oh, that's going to be awful. But maybe you would meet like your best friend there. That would be like amazing. And you'd actually have a lot of fun time with like the people there, or something like that. Even though like most people would judge it as like, maybe they would prejudge it as a crappy job. And I don't know why I'm in this weird space with these messages where I'm bringing that through for you guys, but let me see like if they want to tie it together, or tie it up here to not tie it up, but kind of bring this to a direct message for you guys here. I one message I'm getting about it is like some of you, there's something you would really like to do, but you're like afraid to do it because maybe you think like it's gonna suck to get there, or like the journey to get there is gonna be hard. I guess like the example they're showing me is like getting in shape. It's like you might think that going to the gym, as an example, is going to be awful, and it's going to be awful lifting weights and like running on the treadmill and having gym bros stare at you or whatever. But maybe people are really friendly and you meet cool people and you learn to enjoy it, you know, with the endorphins that happen, and it becomes like your new favorite hobby or something like that. So you might be prejudging some things that would be really good for you that like, you know, you want to do or get to, but you're not doing it because you think it will suck. I feel like that's one of the reasons they're bringing that message through for you guys about like prejudging things. Because sometimes you just don't realize what it's going to be like until you're there. And, yeah, just keep that in mind as well. Another example that they like to get to with that here, I don't know, maybe some of, and again, if this is your dream, don't let me discourage you. This is just an example, but maybe some people want to be like super famous, like Brad Pitt or something. But it's like, if they were super famous, there'd be like a lot of different things they'd have to contend with that they didn't realize they'd have to contend with. And maybe there's some certain like really good things too, but that's just an example. And again, don't let me stop you from trying to be famous if you want to be famous. That's just what was kind of showing up there. So the next here with the moon, they're still on the moon, but we're on a different phase of, no pun intended, different phase of the moon with this message here. They're showing this like, and by the way, it's okay if you are, I'm not big on conspiracy theories. So many of the conspiracy theories out there, like just so many of them, whenever I check in, I'm just like, nope, that's not true. Nope, that's not true. Like almost all of them is what I'd say. And yeah, there are some that are more plausible than others, but just a heads up, you're not going to be getting a lot of conspiracy theories from me. But the reason I say that is because the next thing they're showing me, and it's not a conspiracy theory, it could be symbolic of something. There's a base on the moon. I'm not saying there is a base on the moon. I'm saying I'm seeing a base on the moon for this message. And with this, let's see what the message is here. The message is like about an unexpected haven, actually. So you might have certain people coming into your world. It could be other things as well that are like unexpected havens or like unexpected safe places, like new friends, or again, it could be like a job or career where it ends up being like a safe space for you in some way, or like the people you meet or something like that coming in. So if you feel like you've been like left out in the cold, or maybe you even feel like you're like poor or something like that, or you're just having a tough time like in those ways, or you feel like you don't have a safe space, I feel like you're going to be getting one, is the message. And it's like, it's interesting because it seems unlikely. Like you wouldn't expect to find a safe space on the moon, you know, if you were there. Maybe some people would if they were conspiracy theorists, but other people wouldn't. And but I feel like you're going to be getting that, which is good here, especially if you've been feeling like left out in the cold or barren or destitute, or just like life is against you in some way. I feel like you're getting some type of shelter or umbrella from the universe to keep you safe or to help you make it through, if that makes sense. Not all of you are going through that, but that's just what's coming through. So the next thing, so we're on this like phases thing, because we moved from the cheese moon to the space base, and now we're moving to the next part of the journey, kind of like what's happening with the earth signs here. The next thing's showing up as we move forward here. They're giving me the word oasis, and it's like a different kind of, I'm not sure what's up with these moon base analogies here, but it's almost like this glass dome and there's all these trees, and it's like it's an oasis and like a barren wasteland essentially here. So what's going on here? The word I'm getting is reprieve. I feel like you guys are getting a lot of reprieve is one of the messages coming in here. Especially from like anywhere your life feels barren. It's kind of like if you were wandering through the desert and you found an oasis and there was like a fruit tree and like a place to rest and the weather was tolerable. And it's a great place to stay, if that makes sense. So what's up here? I do feel like some of you guys are just getting a break from some of the difficulties of life. Like maybe you're getting a vacation, you know, as one of the examples of this that are showing up here. Or again, this is kind of tied in with the last message. Maybe you're getting a new job that is just a lot better for you, or something like that. But I really just feel like it's time to come out of the cold, even if it seems unlikely. I guess we're bringing it back to then. It's time for a bit more warmth for you, for things to look up for you, even if it's just even if it's temporary and it's something to tide you over until the real deal shows up here. I just feel like you're getting a temporary reprieve from something you're going through is something I'm getting as well. Next, kind of switching gears, like horse spirit animal showing up. He's all saddled up here. If there's something you need to get out of, horse spirit animal is showing up and he's like here to help you get out of it essentially. And there's like a whole thing that, one time I got a reading, and there's this really awesome practitioner I got a reading from. If I were to give her a shout out, Annie Anthony is her name, and her Facebook page is Anna's Energyhealing. If you're looking for a one-on-one reading and I'm not available, she's one of the people I would recommend to potentially reach out to if you feel called to it. But she did a reading, and it's not the same message, but it's borrowing or piggybacking off of a little bit of like some of the things she said, or they're using the horse in a similar way, where it was like, in this reading, it was like horse spirit animal showed up and she's like, okay, you get on the horse. And usually when horse spirit animal shows up, it's like, and you need to like make a change in your life. Like it might go like a really way you just don't expect it to, where it's really like, you're like, I never imagined this would be how this situation changed, or I got out of this or whatever here. It might not be the exact same message, but it's kind of similar, where it's like the universe is going to be getting you out of something, maybe even that you've been stuck in, even for like a long time. I don't feel like you see this coming. So sometimes we really need to get out of something and it's like finally time, and we don't see how it's going to happen. And the most like miraculous, like weird circumstance lines up where we can just waltz out of the situation safely. So something like that could be showing up if you feel stuck, or it's just like you trying to get out of something that you need to get out of. And I feel like you'll know if it's something you need to get out of. Like you'll be feeling the pressure. You'll probably know. So next message here, let's see here. We're moving to a completely different phase here with the messages. They're showing me just like the space objects. It's almost like a giant, I think it's called an octahedron. It's like an 8-sided sacred geometry shape, if I'm not mistaken. And what's up with this giant octahedron here in space? So it's really interesting because as we see this octahedron in this next part of the reading, the words I hear is like a GPS saying like, you have reached your destination or something. And then all of a sudden, like everything like up levels. So I feel like you are actually almost to the end of a phase where like everything changes, because it's like once you reach this octahedron, it was almost like the old reality just like melts away, and all of a sudden you find yourself in like a completely different space. Like everything up levels. It's like you're a completely different person. I feel like you've been in process for this like actually for a long time, like at least months is what I'd say. Could have even been like a year. Maybe you've been like trying to make a transition happen or something like that, and maybe it wasn't working, or it didn't seem like it was working. But I really feel like everything's about to shift. And like, again, like this came through in one of the other readings, like you are getting a new reality. So things are about to like up level for you majorly. And it could be after this oasis or this reprieve, or could be in conjunction with it. And it's just a separate area that this is happening in. But there's some type of phase that's come to an end and things are about to shift is what I'd say. It might be surprising. For a lot of you, it's not like you've seen this coming, actually. Actually, I think sometimes you just like don't realize when the phase is going to end, and like maybe it's a little bit surprising when it actually does, because maybe like you understand it's going to end on some level, but then it's still surprising when it actually does. Kind of like, I don't know if this was like this for you, but like when high school ended. When high school ended for me, it was very strange, because I was just like, you're just in school like your whole life, and then it's just like over. You're like, what? It's like you're in this like process and like cycle like over, and then it's just like, oop, we're done. Okay. But kind of like that almost, maybe not literally exactly like that, but interesting message there. I guess what I'm getting is things are just going to up level for you and just a lot of new probably. So there's at least one more message, that there's a dragon showing up here, which I always love dragons and they show up a lot. But the word I'm getting with this dragon is mystical. This dragon is like silver and black. I don't know why this matters. He has like a red tongue. He has like a weird marking on the side of his face, which I guess doesn't matter that much, but if you were wondering about it. And what's up here? So it's really interesting because what I'm getting is like source. Like the universe has been trying to activate you. Because they're showing this dragon, and in this visual, this dragon is like huge now, and he's kind of representing like source or the universe in this instance. It's like he's not, but he is. Don't worry about it. You'll get it. But he has these like two like shock like prongs or like something like that. They almost look like tuning forks, but they have like a lot of electricity in them. And it kind of reminds me of like Frankenstein's monster, where there's like all the electricity and all that, and they're trying to like bring Frankenstein to life. And you're like on this planet, and this gigantic dragon is like, come on, and he's like trying to like activate you. He's like using these like shockers to try and like get you activated, essentially. But I feel like the universe is actually, if it hasn't already, like finally going to do it. That could be part of this like reality changing thing as well, where like something in you like activates, or like your soul comes in more strongly, or like something along those lines. So you're going to be a lot more activated by the universe to do what you're here to do, like finally, is what I'm hearing. And maybe you've been on the journey to do this, like source has been putting the things in place for this to happen. Or maybe it seems like it's just on a whim for you, for some of you, but I guess it's time. So I feel like your purpose is going to be active. For some of you, your purpose is going to be activated. You might find your intuition's more activated. You just might find yourself more online and like ready to go. And I feel like source is for the highest good, not using you as in like using and abusing, but is going to be using you more for source's purpose, at least some of you. And that's a really good thing. And what I'm also hearing is like source really takes care of those that source uses for source's purpose. Again, it's not like it's slavery or used and abused. It's more just like, no, it's sort of like, hey, you're coming with me and we're going to do something and we're going to have an impact or something like that. So some of you are getting that calling, which is really cool. Others of you, it's a little bit different, but you are being more activated to do what you're here to do, which is really cool. Some of you, like the angels are working with you, is something I'm getting as well, or I guess all of you if you work with angels, but very interesting message as well. So there's one more thing that they'd like to get to here, and it's about an ending of a season. Sometimes we do reach an ending of a season and we want to hang on to things from the past season. So for example, like a mentor that we had that was helping us through that season, or we were learning from, or someone we really resonate with or really like, that's like a friend or like a loved one. But it's really time for new, and that person has really served their purpose, or that mentor or that thing, hobby, whatever it is. This one's a bit more sad, but sometimes it's like a pet dying or something like that. I'm not saying that's going to happen to you, by the way. Don't freak out. But sometimes we just have these little things that are there for us for a season, and they get us through what we're meant to be, got through, and then it's time to part ways and move on to greater or just to different, and that I feel like that is going to be happening, where you've like hit the end of a line, and it's not in a bad way, hit the end of a line or the end of a season here. So certain things might be leaving, and just be willing to let go a little bit and like let things change, because the new season will bring a lot of blessings, is what I'm hearing, as well. Depending on who you are, where you're at, maybe some challenges as well. But I feel like it'll be better than the last season, which is good overall. So just keep all that in mind. Like, try not to hang on to things that it's time to part ways with, whatever it is. Sometimes if we have like a mentor and they're just to be for a season, like it could even just be like learning guitar, or it doesn't have to be super serious, but it could be. I feel like it actually is for a lot of you in some ways, but maybe if we kept with that guitar teacher in this new season, like it would actually hold us back in some way. There's a story I'm actually getting told to tell you. And I was watching this thing from, I haven't delved like super, super, super deep into this guy's work, but it's Brendan Burchard, and he's a pretty big guy, I think, in the, not physically, but in like the marketing, like business kind of world. And I was watching one of his videos, somehow I got there, and he was kind of talking about his story where he had this mentor that he was learning like business and like marketing stuff from, and he got to a phase where he like just started like crushing it. Like he like surpassed his mentor, like surpassed the records the mentor had made, and all that, like really like was doing awesome with whatever he was doing in his business. And he like posted in like a group chat or whatever it was that he's like, oh, I had these like record numbers. I'm so excited. And all these people are like, yeah, congrats, you're killing it. Yeah. And then his mentor's like, hey, I need to talk to you. And then he's like, oh, okay. And he was saying that he thought it was going to be like, oh, congrats, like you're doing amazing. Let's take it further. And like he got on the phone with the mentor, and or the Zoom call or whatever, and the mentor's like, you need to remember where you came from. He's like, whoa. And it was like a weird, like maybe like petty or just like jealous or just not coming from a good place, you know? So sometimes we do have to part ways with some of the people who have been teaching us, or it doesn't even have to be like kind of more of a negative situation like that. Which could have been like a positive lesson for him overall, where he learned about like who to work with. And, you know, it could have been a lot of positive things that came out of it, but so I don't have to judge it as negative or whatever. But what I'm trying to get to is like, it doesn't even have to be like something like that, where it's someone who's like maybe not coming from a great place, you know, once you get to a certain level, and they're trying to like hold you back, or they get in their ego or whatever, and they're like, you know, whatever it is. It could literally be someone who's been really good for you, but it's just like, it's just time to move on. You know, it's just time to hit the next level, and, you know, whatever it looks like for you, whatever area this is talking about for you, or whatever thing this is being, you know, talking to for you. So if it's time, it's time, and you don't need to force it to happen if you're not sure or anything like that. Let it be shown to you, but I feel like you'll know at the right time, or the universe will just sometimes just make things happen if it needs to, if it's time to part ways with something. But you're leaving something behind, I feel like is actually going to be really good overall, because it's progress, and you got what you needed from it. Okay, so that was like a long spiel, but I think I'm going to close the reading there. There might be like one, they're showing me a 1 second here. What's up with this one? They're showing me a dove next, and they're giving me the words God's promise. And you know, for those of you who need to hear this, like some of you are being lifted out of a storm, or like a storm is coming to an end. And that's what they've been talking about with that, which is really cool. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, resonated, did whatever was for your highest good. For the air signs, there's a season and a reason. There you go. So I hope that resonated and was helpful. We'll move to the water signs next. And I'm going to take a water break and just hang out with chat for a second. So, that was a whoop. I have a dove tattoo, and yes, end of a storm. Thank you. Awesome. I love that synchronicity. So many things, Brandon. Nailed it. Thank you, Kara, for the feedback. And you're welcome, and I so appreciate it. For anyone new here, excuse the smoothie face that just happened. I just called my friend, and we call each other Dove. Hey, I love that. I love the synchronicities. I just lost my grandpa. He was the glue for the family, but now things to be moving along for you now. Well, I'm wishing you all that would be for your highest good regarding that, whether it's healing or you know, whatever you might need, if anything like that. And I know that can be a loss, but I'm also at the same time glad to hear things are moving along for you now. So hopefully that all works out for the best is what I'd say. I also feel like he's there with you, Michelle, and I do feel like it's not like he's not like you're going to be held back now, you know, if you felt like it was held back in the same way or anything like that, but I feel like he actually is helping move things along. So you already probably know this, but he's not really like gone. If you needed to hear that. So how are you, B? Is the water watery? I'm doing well. The water is perfect. Thank you. Complete confirmation. Awesome. Glad to hear it, Sophia. I feel like you will find the right thing, Michelle, about the job here, at least eventually. Layla is asking, is there a message about Peter Pan? I am constantly seeing him in my third eye recently. There's a message for you in that. I don't feel like there's one from me for you on that, but I feel like that'll make sense for you in the future, or someone will bring something through on that one here, unless they like start bringing that through when I'm reading now. But I don't necessarily, I'm not getting one for you right now, but I feel like the universe will have something for you where that makes sense and gets explained or worked out for you. Whoops, someone said something. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope you're doing well, by the way. You're welcome. Whoop. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, they are saying it is time to start the water signs. So, if you have a water sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is going to be for you when you see it, whether it's now live or in the future on YouTube. And I'm just going to be channeling messages through, from my spirit guides and angels and source. So let's dive in for your reading here. No pun intended, or maybe pun intended. It's funny because actually, as I said, let's dive in here. They literally were showing someone like this scene of like diving into the water, and like there was like I don't want to say sound effects, but the sound like that you hear when you dive into water, like the bubbles and like the not muffled sounds, but you know how it sounds underwater. Probably most of you, and probably all of you, and the first thing that they're showing me for this reading is like an air bubble, like a big one here. So this probably won't be all of you, but if you felt like you've been drowning in some way in your life, and it could be metaphorical, it could be emotionally, could be financially, there's a lot of different ways this could show up. I feel like you're going to get a breath of fresh air, or I feel like it could even be like at the last second, like source comes in and saves you or something like that. And now that I just said that, just to kind of round out the message, I wouldn't just like stop doing what you're doing to try and like help yourself in the situation just because I said that and just sit there and wait. For some of you, that would be okay. For others, I feel like, sometimes taking action and still doing what you need to do is helpful in your situations, things like that. But I do feel like some, kind of like in video games or in movies, I've never encountered this in real life, but it's like, like your character will in the video game or whatever will start to like run out of breath, but then they like find an air bubble and their breath is restored or whatever, their breath meter. So I feel like you might be getting like saved in some way like that, or just coming across that, or maybe you're creating that for yourself, but it might even be source working, through you to create that, because sometimes the universe works through you as it can work through anyone, because it is everyone and everything. So keep that in mind. But that's just kind of what I'm giving as the first message here. The next thing showing up, which I know we're kind of in this like pun with the water, and that can happen with these readings, sometimes a lot, but we're still underwater and there's a shark showing up next here, after the water bubble. And we keep never mind. I'm just going to jump into the message here. So they're kind of showing like the shark's like sharp teeth. But the shark actually like wants you to follow it. He's kind of like, come on. And he's like swimming a certain way. And it's almost like, do you trust the shark? I actually feel like, yes, you should in this scenario. I guess it's like shark spirit animal. So we follow the shark. He takes us to a cave. I know this is like an interesting visual, but let's just bear with me here. And like inside this cave, there is like treasure. It's like in this like weird little like coral cave. It looks like something out of a video game or something. And there was like a mermaid there for a second as well, but that's a different story. We'll get to that in a second if they'd like me to. So let me get with like the message, what this means for you, like what the message is for you regarding all this here. So there might be things you are afraid of doing that you have to do right now, but it's going to lead to like treasure. So if you have to like take a job you don't feel like you're ready for, it could like lead to some really good things. Or maybe you're afraid of getting in a relationship, but you have the opportunity and the person seems really good. And the universe is like pushing you to kind of jump and like give it a shot. And it leads to something really good potentially. You don't have to take that all literally. Those are examples, of course, but if you are facing a fear to do something right now or in the near future, I actually feel like it's a good move. Fears aren't really meant to control us. Of course, they can teach us something. They can sometimes be an indicator we need to change something. They can really be a teacher. So you don't necessarily need to eliminate all of the fear as you go to do something. You just have to kind of see it for what it is and move forward and recognize you'll be okay, especially if your intuition is telling you to do something that you're afraid to do or etc. You get it. But there are a lot of rewards potentially on the other side of facing fear, like regarding something you'd like to do, like a relationship you'd like to get into, a change you'd like to make. Maybe it's even a hobby you'd like to try, whatever it is, for you that's resonating for you regarding this reading. So it's time to face certain fears and get to the treasure of life, I guess, in some way. With the mermaid that was showing up here, for me, in like in an odd way, mermaids can symbolize abundance. But I feel like in this scenario, like you might have to work for it, if that makes sense. Like you are being called to work for your abundance in addition to anything else you're doing, like manifesting it or something like that. I feel like sometimes the universe does just give us things. I really have seen times where I just ask and it just shows up. However, sometimes to like balance that message, there is some work we have to do, like to get to a reward or to create something for ourselves, etc. It reminds me of a story one time of, it was actually just a Facebook post I saw. And I don't know if it's this person, it's a person I used to know. I'm not, super close with them anymore or anything like that, but they were kind of, I don't want to say making fun of, but pointing out some of the absurdity of, and I have to balance this message as well, so bear with me as I say this, but he was pointing out the absurdity of like some girl he met who was talking about how she was trying to like manifest a book or something like that. But like the way that it seemed like she talked about it, it was like she wasn't trying to write the book. She wasn't even trying to hire a ghostwriter. She was just sitting there like asking for a book. And not like a book to read, a book to write, or a book that was written. And he's like, why aren't you writing the book? Or doing something. Like we might really want to get to this reward of like having this successful book or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, the universe is like, yes, that's great. I'll help you with this. I'll bring in the resources. I'll bring in the ideas. I'll bring in the people. But you do have to sit down and write the book, like, or you got to at least like take some type of action to go on Fiverr and hire a ghostwriter or like something. Like you got to do something and meet the universe at some way in the middle here. So there might be certain things you want to do or have, or you need to put in the work. And I wouldn't shy away from that right now. If that's you, it's going to be well worth it. And the other question is like, what else are you going to do? Cause it's like, otherwise you might just, well, what's the best way to say this here? I mean, if there's something you'd really like to do and you're not doing anything about it, it's like, a bunch of years could go by and you're not anywhere closer to it if you haven't taken action to it. So you might be manifesting certain things like that. And the universe is like, okay, awesome. But like work towards it, like work with me here a little bit. And again, I'm sure there is some miraculous magical way that someone who's really awesome at manifesting could ask for a book and somehow it shows up, whether they get the idea and it all just channels through them, or maybe somehow someone would just hand them a manuscript and be like, I don't want this. I wrote this book, you publish it or something. But at the same time, it's like, my question is like, there's this other story I want to talk to get into that as well. Cause like there are people I've known who have like manifested potentially really big things, like really quickly. And maybe this is also partly their own doing. It's like something about, I don't want to like put this on this and say this can't happen, because I think it can. And I don't want to limit it for anyone, because I really don't. But there have been people who like, maybe they haven't totally done the work and they manifest this really big thing, but it like falls through in some way. Or it's like, maybe it would have been cool if they'd stuck with it, but then they like quit on it really quickly because of some reason. Because I remember there was like one, should I give this example? Overall, yes, but I'm iffy on it. There's one person I knew who like manifested this like really big opportunity, like with social media, to like potentially help build a really big following for themselves. But it was like, the person they were working with, like, it was like kind of potentially like just weird. It was like a girl, and like the dude who was like running the thing was a little bit like, I don't know if sleazy is the right word, but maybe a little bit like creepy. Or just like a little, it was like kind of weird, or there's some weird stuff with it. So there was like this big opportunity, but like, was it really, if that makes sense? And I really do feel like sometimes, and you kind of got to balance it. Like the universe will reward people who do the work, and like make the effort to be the real deal, have the real deal, etc. So, I guess like what I'm trying to say is, things can be magical, things can show up, don't limit it. At the same time, sometimes balancing it with hard work, or putting in the work, whether it's work smart, not harder, but you're putting in the work that's effective, can be really a recipes for success, if you will. So balance that with your own life. And I know I probably over-explained that maybe, or maybe I didn't. Hopefully that's helpful in some way though. So let's move forward to the next thing. I would be working towards your blessings. So the next thing, we're still on this water pun kick, but there's a speedboat here. We're at the surface of the water now. And there's like this rich kid in the speedboats. He's, this is very strange. This person is like dreamy. They do have big dreams. They do have a lot that's like handed to them. And he's kind of like speedboating along the surface. He's like heading to this private island that his like dad owns or something like that. I'm not saying this is you, by the way. We'll see where this message goes and what it means. They'll tell me, but I need to sit with it for a second. So what's going on here? So it's interesting because this kid in this scenario is handed like a lot, if not everything, like a lot of what he wants, if that makes sense. Or he's handed like a lot of things. At the same time, there are like certain things that he wants that can't just be handed to him, if that makes sense. He wants like true love, but he has to like work on himself to be authentic, to have that, more deeply. Or he wants like deep connection with a partner, but he has to let go of, I don't know, maybe what's the best way to say this that is TikTok appropriate? Maybe he hires people to spend time with in a TikTok inappropriate way, a lot. And he has to kind of let go of that to allow space for, what he wants to show up, things like that. So, I guess like this is maybe balancing the previous message. Like you can just be handed a lot of things, but there might be things that you have to like work for what you want, if that makes sense as well, or like become the person who has those things. And by the way, I'm sure there are rich people out there who are great. They do their work and they have amazing relationships. So that's not like an overall like judgment on rich people. It's just the example kind of coming through right now on that one. So let's sit with this message a bit more and see where they'd like to go with this one. I'm sorry to like be like hammering this like over and over again, but it's not really me. They're just saying once again, like, rewards come from like hard work. So don't be afraid to work hard right now, within reason. And again, personally, I like to balance like hard work is working smart and effectively, not just hard work for hard work's sake. So let's move on here. What's the next thing here? We're still with the rich kid. He's still going to this island. So let me sit with it for a second longer. I do feel like you're getting a lot of blessings is something I'm getting, like even in the near future or even now. It's like one of the messages or reminders is like what they said is like you need to like appreciate them and like recognize them. It's a weird message, and I'll explain this, but they're like saying something like blessings aren't blessings if you don't recognize them for that. So maybe you have like a really amazing life, but you don't realize it's amazing. So you're just like, meh, but if you like really sat with it for a second and like took stock of that and sat with your blessings, you're like, no, this is actually really amazing. I really appreciate this. And then you get more, and then you also are feeling great because you're realizing how amazing your life is, if that makes sense. And sure, sometimes people go through legitimately like crappy circumstances and like there legitimately is like crap and like you have to work through that or get out of that or whatever. At the same time, if you're not recognizing what your blessings are, how are you realizing that you're what they are, or that you're blessed, if that makes sense? So I'd really be sitting with like what your blessings are and like really appreciating it. For those of you that resonate with this, because I actually feel like you are in a weird way going to be handed a lot by the universe, but you like have to recognize it because it's going to make your life like 10 times better. Just that alone. So I would like sit and like take note of that is something I'm hearing. I feel like I heard someone else saying something similar recently, but hopefully it would maybe, I don't know. They're telling me to say it now, so I'm saying it. The other thing with this as well that I'm getting for y'all is to balance everything I've already said. It is okay to be handed things. So if you are, so don't judge that as bad either. It just is what it is. I don't want you to hold back blessings because of what I just said in any way, shape, or form. So let's move on here. We're at the private island now. There is something being built here. It's almost like a massive hotel. It's like, 10 stories isn't necessarily massive, I guess, but it's like 10 stories tall. It's still being built taller. There are things being built in your life that you don't see coming, is what I'm getting with this reading and with this message. It could be things you're building and you don't see them taking off soon, or you don't see them being ready soon, but like they are. It could be something that's like given to you, but you've actually done the work for it on a different level. Like for example, maybe we do the work on ourselves and then like a soulmate relationships get handed to us. But in theory, we kind of did do the work to have that, if that makes sense. So, but something is being built for you. You might have to be a little bit patient on it, but I feel like it's going to be a surprise when it's ready. Because maybe this kid that was on the boat, like doesn't realize this is either a private hotel or like a hotel that his father is building to give to the kid, and it's a hotel he owns and it like sets him up for life or something like that, as an example. I don't know if any rich kids are listening to this, but I'm really not trying to denigrate you if you are at all, because this could also be representative of something for all of you tuning in that it could be like a really amazing, I don't know, maybe you do get an amazing book idea that source channels through you or something. But coming back to the example here, there's something surprising. I know I said this like 10 times. Let me get the message out. Something surprising for you that's being built for you. You're going to be like handed this soon. Really do your best to appreciate it once it's handed to you. But I feel like you're going to be pretty excited about this, whatever it is, whether it's a relationship, a job, something you're looking forward to, something you didn't realize you wanted that you get. So I feel like that's going to be awesome here. I feel like that's it for that story. It's not like a story, but that storyline regarding the reading. But I feel like there are more messages as well. We're switching gears here. We're moving to the moon again. I know the moon signs, like the whole reading was in space and on the moon, but this one, they're showing like a quarter moon, or like the one with like the sliver around the sides, as we zoomed in on the moon here. And they're giving me the word secrets as we zoom in on the moon, and we're zooming in on like the dark side of the moon here. I do feel like there are like secrets being revealed. I feel like for some of you, it's like your secrets are being revealed to other people, but it's actually like fine and you don't need to worry about it. For others of you, it's like secrets are being revealed to you, and it could even be like secrets that have to do with your life. Like maybe your mom tells you something like, oh, you were adopted as a kid. You're like, or something like that. Or some other secret comes out, and maybe it's even like a worldwide secret, like something comes out on the news, or like, oh my God, the government, or I don't know, but or this group or this company, it doesn't have to be a government conspiracy, but, it could be things like that even. It doesn't have to be just like a personal life thing. It's going to be different. Well, for some of it, it's going to be different. But I feel like there are a lot of secrets being revealed in general, and it might seem disconcerting or worrisome, but it's like exactly what needs to happen. So I wouldn't actually worry about it. It could even set you free in some way or help you out in some way. I kind of feel like that's it for the reading, or we're almost there. I don't know. They're saying that's really the reading, so I'm not going to force there to be more if there's not more. They might slip in some last second messages as they do sometimes as we close this out. Nope, they want it done. So I hope that was helpful. Did whatever was for your highest good, resonated. All, of course, only for the highest good. And we're going to whoop, whoop, whoop. How's it getting better and all that? You're welcome. Mm-hmm. That was awesome. Thank you. You're welcome. You have a good day, Layla. And you are welcome. Yeah, that could, change username later. LOL. That's awesome. Secrets that you say or commented. Yeah, secrets like realizations that change your life and heal you. And yes, heck yeah. You're welcome, guys. Love that. Been questioning if I should put my all into it or walk away. Awesome. I feel like for this one, I feel like it'd be good if you put your all into it. But do what you feel called to do. Hopefully I didn't just confuse you there. I don't feel like I did, but, hello, I'm late, but happy to be here. Hey, how's it going? It's been such a pleasure. Awesome. You're welcome. I do think I'm going to be doing a full, we'll see. Maybe they will have me not do it, like a full channel mode message as I typically do at the end of the lives. But we'll see. So I'm writing a book. So nervous. Keep at it. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Awesome. And that's awesome. Nope. Your reading was right on and told me to work hard for abundance. Yep. I'd keep at it. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. S7 asks, interesting question. How do spirit guides see God/source? Do they have different perspectives like humans do or not? So no, they don't, is what I'm getting. Especially if it's coming from a higher place or like a legit channel. And if it's a pure channel bringing the messages through, it's all going to be about the same is what I'm getting on it. Different people might have different perspectives, but God is what God is at the end of the day. What I'm getting is spirit guides should be aligned in the messages they're bringing through. The differences you're probably going to run into regarding like if you're hearing different things from different people is like the channel, like the person, if that makes sense. So one message that I'm also hearing is just to make sure you listen to people who really resonate for you. That's probably going to be your best bet. And I feel like you'll know if something isn't resonating for you. Whoever that is, by the way. So, and the other thing I'm kind of hearing, and I know this is like a really tricky thing to talk about, and I feel like I get spun around every time I try to talk about it, but the spirit guides don't see God differently because God is the spirit guides at the end of the day. And there is like some separation, but not really. And it's really difficult, or I don't want to put it out there as difficult, but it seems really difficult to kind of wrap the mind around. But if you kind of just like kind of relax and allow yourself to get the knowing of it, instead of like trying to think on it too much, it should come to you eventually as far as like the knowing of what, they're talking about with that. And spirit guides aren't meant to be too different because they're just meant to bring you the accurate, information, guide you perfectly. So I'd say like for your job regarding that and like spirit guides, is like your job is just to get in tune and get out of the way in some ways. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like some of you feel a little bit weird about all the things I just said. Maybe I feel a little bit weird in some ways, but I feel like that's closer to the truth of it. Really, the other thing I'm getting to say here is, as long as you're connecting to highest consciousness, like, you're fine, is what I'd say. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, or about like the semantics, or all the little tiny details people are trying to put on it. If you're someone who's like working with this, just make sure you're doing something that works for you, is what I'd say. Because I know there's some people who, I don't know, there's people out there I've encountered in like different videos or comment sections who have opinions, and they try to correct me, but I'm like, I'm really just channeling through the messages I'm getting. Like, it's not really me that you're correcting. Or sometimes there's just a semantics difference and people don't get that, or I don't know, they just have opinions and they think, I don't know. It just is what it is. And I'm also not trying to put myself in a lofty place where it's like, yeah, everyone else is wrong no matter what, because I don't think that's healthy either. But I don't know, at the end of the day, what's true is what's true, and the truth will get unveiled eventually. So I don't know. You're welcome. Thank you, Brandon. Exactly the message I got today from my guides today too. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Sorry, I'm looking at the comments here. Sorry. So Lainey's asking, any insight on the shadow people I keep seeing? Sorry to ask this, just super curious. What I was instantly hearing when I first read the comment, and I'm not saying you're low vibration or anything, but they were like, oh, you need to raise your vibration, like for you. I don't think they want me to get super deep into it, honestly. That was just the first thing I heard instantly when I saw your comment. So I just thought I'd pass that along. So anything you're doing to raise your vibration, I would keep doing it. Whether it's channeling for yourself, self-energy healing, things like that, as long as you feel like you're in a good place to do that. And I wouldn't worry about it too much. I feel like it'll shift is something I'm getting. Because, sometimes it's people like, if you're experiencing that, as people like around you that are bringing that around. Sometimes other people around you are at a really low vibration. You're picking up on like what is around them, if that makes sense. So I don't even think it's necessarily like a bad thing. What I'm getting for you is it could just be a sign like, okay, time to raise your vibration, if that makes sense here. And the other thing is, like, sometimes people, it depends on your experience and where you're at and all that, but some people do project some really bad things onto that. I don't necessarily ever invite that stuff to be around or be like, yeah, or anything like that. I don't really get that very often, but I guess like when I notice certain like topics being discussed or certain people, I'll notice it around sometimes. But I don't like that stuff around. I'll usually shoo it away or tell them to leave or whatever. So I would keep that in mind. Okay, so they're telling me to move into the full channel one message. Okay, we can answer this. Steph is asking how do you raise your vibration? So there are a number of ways you can do this, and I'll just see what I'm guided to say for you and for the people here today. There's a lot of different things. One, if you don't already do this, but getting into like energy healing in some way, any modality that resonates for you, could be Reiki, any teacher that feels best to you or resonates for you. It doesn't have to be me. Is a really good idea, because one, you'll get the attunements for those modalities. That is going to clear things out and like raise your vibration and elevate you. It's going to help, also unveil your gifts if you're trying to, open your intuition or channeling or whatever, as well. But then working with that higher vibrational healing energy, that's going to help raise your vibration. It's going to balance, if you're balancing yourself out, working with like self-healing sessions or whatever, that's going to help, keep you in a good place and keep you consistently either climbing higher or just in a better place. And maybe you're drawn to multiple modalities. I would do all of it that you're drawn to help you with this. Two, the next thing I'm hearing, actually, interestingly enough, for this moment about raising your vibration is like mindsets. And like, not what I'd typically gravitate towards for raising your vibration. I'd typically say something else, me personally. But what I'm getting to say here is like looking at like limiting beliefs, even like about the concept of vibration or like energy, and like, letting go of some of the, if you're watching different readers or something, or people feeding you mindsets, letting go of the different either like readers or people you're watching that just don't seem like they're of a high vibration, if you notice that. Because there are just some people out there, I don't know why I'm being guided to say this, that just aren't there, if that makes sense. And they kind of just drag everyone else down with them just through some of the mindsets they're putting out there, depending on if the people that are watching them like buy it, or things like that. And, sometimes that's a lesson for those people. That's like, that's a lesson like, oh, I'm going to, if I get into this journey, I'm not going to be like this person. Or it could be like, it could also just be like, something they just have to go through or work through to get to a better place in themselves or whatever. There's a number of different things that source could be doing through that situation, even if it doesn't seem ideal on the human level. But I guess the other recommendation is like just focusing on like limiting beliefs or shifting those perspectives to help, yourself like allow a higher frequency and allow yourself to ascend to a higher frequency. And you can work on those in whatever ways you feel called, whatever works for you on that one. There was one thing I heard, interestingly, about limiting beliefs that I actually really liked. It was the first time that I heard something and I was like, oh, I know what he's talking about. I know how to work on this now, or I can start working on this more now, as I catch some of these things. But not that I really felt like I had a ton of limiting beliefs, which I'm getting I don't, thank goodness. And it's not like I haven't done that work in like other ways, but it just helped me like realize a bit more about it. And it was something along the lines of, I'm hesitant to talk about it, but let's see what would be as much for me to do here. They're telling me not to give this example because you guys already know. So I'm not going to give the example and for whatever reason. Beyond that, if there's more with that would help with raising vibrations here. Another thing you could do, like journaling, or if you ever feel called to like work on channeling it for yourself, and getting into channeling, as long as you feel like you're in a place to do that, that can be something that raises your vibration as well when you're working with like, I don't know if you want to say, spirit guides, angels, source, whatever. Because you're bringing that higher vibration through you. You're in that higher frequency, like working with them, I suppose you could say, or bringing that through you. So that's another way to start to raise your vibration. And also like that opens a lot of things channeling can be like part of your intuition, but it can also open your third eye more. So you can be raising your vibration as you channel more and things like that. And there's at least one more thing they'd like to get to for today, because there's a lot of different things you can do, by the way. What else would help with raising vibration as far as Steph asking this is concerned today? Again, they're really bringing through that other message of like, just stop listening to people who are bringing you down, if there's anyone like that. And the last thing they would like to get to today, we already talked about like any modality that calls to you, like moving towards that and working on, working with that. But anything else here? I really feel like your self-work on any level is going to help raise your vibration, big or small. So a lot of the things you could think to do to raise your vibration and like work on yourself, probably going to work here. So that's about all they wanted to say right now on the topic. I'm sure there's so much more we could talk to for, different people and things like that. But hopefully that's helpful as a starting place to begin to shift things for yourself by raising your vibration, if that makes sense. Awesome. You're welcome. Thank you. Helps so very much. We'll stop listening to the downers. Bless you. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad to hear it. So they would like to do full channel mode now. And so I do these kind of usually at the end, towards the end of every live here, but I'm just going to channel my spirit guides, the angels and source like directly through me. So if you're new here, like my eyes will be closed. Typically as it starts, like I cough a little bit and they laugh and then they bring through a message. But there's also like an energetic transmission, like from true highest and most infinite source that does, it can do something akin to like energy healing or, work that would be for your highest good. It can be very elevating. It can also help open your intuition. So that can be part of it as well. I don't know, that's just part of it as well. So I am going to take a second and I might drink some water and then they will channel through me and we'll see what comes through for you guys today. And usually it seems like it goes from about like 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 10 to 20 minutes or maybe longer. But for these lives, it's that length. And I can do it longer, but usually for the lives, it's about that length. And then if I don't know, there are times where I'll do it for like an hour for like MP3s or other things I'm creating, or well, I don't know if I'm creating them, but channeling through. But this one should be about 10 to 20 minutes. So give me just a little bit and they'll start channeling through in the next minute or so here or sooner. Welcome to today's channeled message for this crowd. And we would like to talk about how you guys have grown immensely since the time we have first started doing this through Brandon. For those of you who have been following the lives or been following our work for a while through Brandon. So kudos to you for the growth that you have achieved in the years, however much time you have been listening and working on yourself. It is time to fly high for many of you tuning in, and that is one of the main messages we'd like to get to for you. And many of you don't see this coming, but there's a bit of a energy where the floor is dropping away for this collective, but you have wings. What do we mean by the floor dropping away? Sometimes when higher possibilities unveil themselves, the baseline or reference you have for your reality and what's possible for you begins to fade. So it might even in some ways seem like you are metaphorically walking on nothing at all. This might not make a lot of sense cognitively, but energetically, if you tune in, it might make a bit more sense, or it will make more sense as you move forward on your journey. Some of the things you use as a reference for yourself and where you're at, some of the friendships, some of the people who tell you who you are, some of the things that you rely on as a baseline for your vibration and your reality begin to fade. But it simply means you are ready to jump higher. As we will speak to often, for this crowd is continually ascending, especially those of you who work on yourselves, you are continually going higher, you are opening to higher frequencies. And this can lead to things like bliss, higher energies, peace, knowing. It can also lead to a purge at times. So if anything comes up as your reality shifts, as you go higher, as you fly, be mindful of that, be aware of that. Realize you are shifting, realize you are purging or releasing. It does not have to be intense, by the way. It can be over time. Ask for the gentleness and ease that you would like and see what source can do for you regarding that. That could be your key as you begin to fly higher, is asking for ease with all of it. We do harp on this message sometimes. It's easy to forget in the human world that ease is possible for you, that ease is a possibility. You are sold difficulty left, right, and center. You have to work 18-hour days and grind and get no sleep to have success, which is not necessarily true, by the way. Some of you are programmed for that, and that's sort of a lifestyle, and that works for you, and that is great. You do what works best for you, but others of you, that would run you into the dirt so fast, you would potentially want to end your life, because it just so did not resonate for your soul and the experience you signed up for. It would be a great lesson for you to attempt to work 18-hour days building a business that didn't resonate for you for money or fame or what have you. Not to say you can't have those things and work less than 18-hour days, for that would be a limitation that idea that you must work those 18-hour days to have those things. What we are getting to, however, is that higher possibilities are available to you once again. The collective is upshifting once again, and it's time to fly high above the stories that people are selling you, where things have to be difficult, things have to be hard. It's time to up level above the stories that you can't do this, that you can't ascend, that you can't have what someone else has because you're not good enough for XYZ. It is also a time where your psychic abilities come online further and furthermore. So many of you will be seeing that upticking sometime in the future following this message and in this live here, because you are ready for that. Going back to the difficulty thing, however, you are sold that difficulty left, right, and center from your government, from your schools, from people who purport a lifestyle that for you that would benefit them and not necessarily you. So be mindful and aware of this. There will be time periods where working hard is the motto. It's the way things have to go. There will be time periods where you should be living in ease, and who's to say you can't have ease with hard work? Try to wrap your mind around that one, some of you. Thinks everyone and everything must be hard for them. So what do we mean by fly high? We've been giving examples of higher possibilities and reality shifting. For some of you, that is very tangible. Those of you who are more awakened, you have your feelers out there for those sorts of things. You feel the energies of those things. You understand what we're talking about, at least to some level. But for those of you who are new here, or who may not understand the concepts cognitively quite so much, we mean you going higher in your spirits, embodying more of your soul, becoming more of who you're meant to be, becoming more connected, living more intuitively, highest consciousness, we could say. It's you ascending above the noise, the common things that are purported on earth, the things that people live by in a lower stance that don't resonate for you anymore. You are meant to go higher. You are meant to be your own person, flying high with you and spirits. And you and your personal connection will be a lot of what gets you there. Sure, there will be others on the journey that help to facilitate you growing, your ascension. Healers out there, channelers like this, readers, many things, books, tools. But at the end of the day, your journey is yours. Those people do not own your journey. They do not own you. You are not their slave. They do not necessarily owe you your ascension or elevation. They might owe helping you in some sort of spiritual contracted way. And we advise you not to take that literally. It is just a way of saying an agreement has been made somewhere that this soul would help yours in this incarnation. You do not have to think there are literal papers up in the etheric that God is signing and souls are signing and all this weird stuff. If it helps your understanding, then sure, go for that. If it does not make sense to you, try something else because you're closer to the truth. There's nothing wrong with either, by the way, for wherever you are at. Some people might need to go in some sort of literal papers in the etheric phase for them to get to their next level. And that's why it is important for you to not necessarily listen to every single person that is out there purporting spiritual ideas, selling a spiritual idea, because some people are just in their phase of that understanding. And it can be so tempting to take some of these things literally or buy them as a truth because they sound nice, but you have to go with your intuition and your connection with spirits overall, because that will lead to the most growth for many of you when you are ready for that, when you are getting those messages, when you start to see the accuracy of your intuition. because your journey is personal. It is not meant to be owned by another. And that is why leadership is changing on the planet. We do not necessarily mean leadership as in world leaders, stepping down or rising or any of that. You will see shifts in that arena in the future. In the next 100 years or so, many world leaderships are going to occur. Many dynamics will shift. You are seeing that play out right now. It looks very uncomfortable, of course. You might be feeling wary of that. You do not need to worry. As long as you are in a good location, you are taking care of yourself, you are working with your intuition, you will be steered away from much of the negative dynamics with all of that in your personal worlds. Spirit is looking after you if you are listening. If you are newer and you do not know how to listen, do not worry. Spirit will look after you in the ways that you need it, in the ways you are ready for, so do not worry. But we mean leadership as in people leading themselves. The concept of leadership that each of you embody to some degree. You are not all meant to be followers forever, following a guru, following a teacher, following a world leader, following a religion. Following is, in some ways, starting to end. This not might make much sense to you right now. But the dynamic is going to become more co-creation. Co-creation with someone who is conducting an experience. Instead of seeing them as your leader that is above you in some strange hierarchy. Because as more people get in tune, more people can begin to work together more readily in an aligned way that's of spirits, without the ego battles, without the strange human dynamics that so many of you find icky, such as power over others, harm to others, someone selling a story just because it suits their agenda in the world, such as a political leader. But as you become more self-governed, and we do not necessarily mean politically, but in your life, in your connection with spirits, co-creation becomes more possible with the world. Because you're working with Source through everyone. You're working with Source, working through everyone. You're in tune with that. So elevation is the name of the game. You are changing the planet just by elevating. We will tell you this often. Some of you need to not give up on whatever you are doing for yourself right now. You need to not give up on your personal growth. You're going higher. You need to not give up on your gifts, on your business, whatever you are doing to help the world or help yourselves, because it is leading you somewhere. Sometimes people will try something. They won't get the results in a day. They will give up. Don't be that guy, to borrow that phrase. Yes, you can have ease with your personal journey and your work. Yes, you can have ease in your world. But in some ways, you have to become self-governed to have that and split with the collective idea of suffering, of hardship, etc. And if you're working through that, again, you are just working through that energy. You're working it out of your system. You're learning the lessons from it. You're moving on from it. But as you become self-governed, you can rise above the collective noise and step into that. We are really delivering this message so that you will elevate and elevate within yourselves. Give yourselves a chance. Give yourselves a chance to thrive. Not give up before the miracle occurs. Give yourselves a chance to be who you are here to be. You already are. It is within you. It's in your encodement. But bringing that out, allowing that to shine, not caring what people think. Because that allows them to stop caring what other people think. And if it doesn't, they are undoing their judgments. They are undoing their stories. They are working through their ego, if you will use that word. So becoming a pure conduit is what we are going to recommend for all of you, for your soul, for spirits, whatever framework you have of the highest that will also be your elevation. And that can happen in a number of ways. One, as Brandon was talking about earlier, working with the healing modalities, working with the channeling, working with your innate gifts and abilities, shifting out of some of the lower collective mindsets that are rampant on the planet. It's very easy to watch a video, read a comment section with a lot of stubborn, negative individuals coming from a lower place, buying into the collective stories of suffering, whether it's about dating or work or jobs, the community, how people are. But there is a lot of truth that is missed if you only listen to the negative voices purporting a negative narrative based on their own experiences or a video they watched and they just want to sound smart. Not all people are like that. Perhaps an individual that is male watches a video about what women are interested in, and this video they are watching talks about some negative standpoint from that guru or person's narrative or experiences, and this person watching it just buys it, and they assume all women are like X. And some of the women tuning into this are going to be driven crazy by this example. You absolutely hate it. We understand. Because it's not necessarily true. It's not the full story. And it's not necessarily helping that individual watching that video be better with attracting the love of their life or whatever they are trying to get out of that that's more positive for them in their soul's journey. If he only buys the negative perspective by that guru, by the people in the comment section, he does not necessarily get what he desires in the long term, and he misses the truth. But if you have the higher connection, you don't need to listen to that noise anymore. Or, if you're willing to let go of the negative stories you've been sold about how the world works, and open to a different possibility, whatever that may be, and you are asking Source for that, if you are not in the place to channel yet, or work on yourself in that way, if you're willing to ask for those higher possibilities, higher opportunities, higher expansions, you're going to start to be gifted that new perspective away from the noise. And you can begin to expand your own world the way you would like to see it, or the way that Source shows you to, whichever would work best for you with where you're at. That is what's going to be helpful for you today, many of you. Letting go of those earthly perspectives that may be hindering you. And you do not have to go crazy. You do not have to let go of the world completely. Please don't. You are going through your journey how you need to. But you do need to let go of the things that are not allowing you to elevate the ways that you need to, that would have an impact on this planet, that would suit your soul's journey more. Not that there is anything wrong with where you are at ever. It is just that that is what you need, many of you. So are you willing to let go of the negative perspectives? Are you willing to let go of the person or the idea that you bought from XYZ guru or person that you'll never find love because all men are like X, all women are like Y, all non-binary individuals are like W? And by the way, that example does not necessarily only pertain to that scenario. It could be spiritual. It could be about your job or work. It could be about how you view yourself. There is a new path opening for many of you. Yes, along with this message. It just has been for some time. we actually speak about this quite often in some of the readings and some of the things that are showing up, but it's an elevated path. If you are elevating, you will get there, and you are. You are. We've spoken to this in some of the past few weeks. So are you ready? Because your world will be far different than ever before. Yes, the world entirely in the future, eventually, but your world. And again, your world being different, you on that higher road, opens the door for the highest good, for others' worlds to be different in the highest and best ways for them, or in better ways for them. So if you are ready to elevate, now is the time to make the moves, take the action steps, do what you feel called to do, or if you are already doing it, just keep doing it. But now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. So we leave you, leaders, with that. If you are willing to be a leader with source of your own world, or a co-creator, whatever term resonates for you. Go forth and lead or co-create your world in conjunction with spirits, with your soul, whatever resonates for you. And we are wishing you well. This was a very energetic message. This was meant to elevate. This was meant to help you let go. This was meant to help you get out of your head. So, the work is done for this channel, and we will see you in the future, most of you. Farewell for now. Thank you for these amazing vibrations and energy. You are welcome. You are welcome, guys. Hugs, thank you. Today was an amazing message. Awesome. You're welcome. So glad to hear it. Thank you. I needed to hear that. Thank you. You're welcome. So glad to hear it. You're welcome, guys. I watched from the beginning and it has been amazing. So glad to hear it. Thank you. You are so welcome. Crown is tingly. Awesome. That's a good sign, I'd say. You're welcome, Jessica Johnston. I hope you're doing great. Thank you, Dana. I'm so glad to hear it. Thank you, CLC. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Is your live being screen recorded by chance? So TikTok does typically save a version of the live that I can then download and repost. So this will be on YouTube. If you feel called to rewatch it or you missed something or anything like that, it was spot on, very needed. Perfect. So glad to hear it. You're welcome, Celeste. You're welcome, Earth Angel. Oh, you're welcome, guys. Thank you so much. DMS 1,000. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm so glad I get to do this. I always appreciate it. I always come away from these lives feeling really good, getting to interact with you guys and meet you guys here, I suppose, and get to facilitate this. So it is an honor. I really appreciate getting to do this, and I am wishing you all well. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, awesome. You're so welcome. Oh, thank you so much, Emily. Oh, thank you for the congratulations. You're amazing. You've been amazing for these past few years. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Oh, oh, thank you, Sophia. I appreciate that. The messages today were so very helpful. Perfect. That is always a big part of the aim. It's always part of the aim. I'd always like for this to be as helpful, as possible as would be for the highest good, for all of us, I suppose, for everyone. But you understand. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Kara, and everyone who's smashing the Do you have a YouTube channel? I do. It is it's channeling source. It's channeling space source, but with one, instead of two L's, it's one L. Because I went with the English or UK spelling, I guess, for this account and for other things, and then I switched to the one L because no one else uses the two L's, and here we are. But thank you so much to anyone who gifted anything, who's liking. I so appreciate it. And I always feel so humbled when you guys like do the rest to 100K at the end. Thanks, Esperanza. I'm so glad to hear it, that you love the YouTube channel. Thank you guys. Woo! I appreciate the 100K, guys. You guys are awesome. So honored to be here. So appreciate you guys. I'm gonna, what's the best way to do this here? They're telling me to do this, so I'm gonna switch gears for a second here, but just to get the promotion, out of the way, I do have a monthly membership. If you liked the long channel, I do like hour-long channels every month that I post there, as well as weekly channel timeless picker readings, channel guided meditations, or monthly channel guided meditations, depending on the tier. So if you're drawn to that or that feels like to you, you can check that out. If not, no worries. I do have some classes coming up. I think in 2 weeks I have an intro to channeling class. It's really about, I guess starting with channeling and taking it further, or just starting to take it further and start to hone in your gifts or get in touch with your gifts. So that's available. I do have some more energy work classes coming up soon, but I don't have them scheduled yet. So that will be there in the future. I guess that's all that they would like me to talk about with you today, though. I do have some other things you can check out on my website, but you don't have to. So if you feel called to it, it feels like to you. I might hang out for just a second and then, there will probably be more. So just see if it feels right to you to do it. The root chakra meditation is fire. Oh, thank you, Tiff Gents. I do have a root chakra. It's the red package, and it's 3 channeled MP3s to help your root chakra, like the channeled meditation. For that one, there's a channeled message. So if you guys want to work on your root chakra, and it feels good to you, that's a possibility for you to work with that one, if it feels good to you. You are welcome. So I'm going to hang out for just a second. I might end up playing guitar. I'm feeling I could do it. I'm feeling a little bit, I actually do feel kind of wired, but I also feel like a little tired. So we'll see what happens. Thanks and good night to me. Now 2 a.m. in Lithuania. Oh, good night, Ruda. You have a beautiful rest. And it's always an honor that you're here so late. So that's really cool. Thank you. Hydration, yes. The last bit of water. Okay, you know what? They are telling me to play some guitar, so if you guys are okay with that, well, why wouldn't you be? You can just scroll away if you're not okay with it, but I'm gonna go get my guitar. I might take a quick bathroom break, and what I do with that is it's typically I'll just infuse it with like Reiki, potentially some other healing modality, energies or healing energies. And then I'll play for a bit, and I'll improvise a bit. I'll play some songs that I've kind of, written over that time here, or improvise over them. So not necessarily over them, but with them. So I might do that for 20 minutes or so here. So if you feel called to stay, awesome. If not, you have a beautiful rest of your week. And it was cool seeing you here. So I'm going to go use the restroom. I'm going to grab my guitar, and I will be back. Okay. Okay. So. Okay. Ooh, the sun's kind of peeking through in a weird way, so hopefully the lighting's okay for you guys. But I'm guessing most of you who are here have seen me do this before or been a part of this before, so pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to call upon some healing, modalities like Reiki and etc. Potentially the 4 angelic fires, which is one I've channeled through, and just it'll be flowing through me during the playing. It'll be, the intention is also like it infuses with the music, so it's kind of like a sound healing, maybe energy healing combo, if that makes sense. So that's at least the intention. So I'm going to just take a second to, I'm going to start playing really soon, but I'm going to take a second to just, draw out some Reiki symbols and all that and get everything set up, and then we'll just kind of jump in. So I'm just going to start like right now. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so of course, setting the intention that only what's for the highest good occurs regarding all this. Whatever healing is for the highest good to occur occurs. And that, of course, this is totally pure for your guys. Well, for all of us, I guess, but just totally pure, just does whatever is for the highest good. So give me 1 second. Let me check the tuning too. Glad I checked. Go. Okay. Well, I hope that was good. So I'm going to close it out. I ask that any Reiki or healing energies that flow with that just work for however long would be for the highest good until any shifts and changes that are for the highest good to be completed are completed. Of course, I ask the true eyes and stamina source to watch over all that and ensure only what's for the highest good occurs. And that session is over. So I hope that was great for you. That was amazing. Awesome. Oh, hey, Destiny, good to see you. You're welcome. But that means a lot too. Thank you. Thanks, Tony. Thank you. That felt powerful. Perfect. You're so welcome. Perfect. Amazing. Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, thank you, B. Sounded beautiful. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Jessica. So it was great to see you all again. Ooh, excuse me. I am going to be ending the live probably here. I guess it's been a almost 4-hour live, so 3 hours and 40 some minutes, 3 hours, 40 minutes. Aw, thank you, Esperanza. That means a lot. You have a great day too. You guys are amazing in the best ways, so you have an amazing week, and I so appreciate getting to do this. I'm so glad this was helpful. Did whatever was for that kid. I've been humming that tune and no idea where it came from. It might have been from here. But I hope you guys have an amazing week too. Okay, I'm going to sign out of this for now, this live, and you guys I'm going to start repeating myself, but thank you, and I appreciate you, and I will see you next week or whenever I see you, and you guys take care, okay?